Tweeted Jesse's tweets.
And we are streaming.
Ooh.
Ooh, close this.
I knocked something over.
Daniel, what's your Twitter? What's your Twitter name?
It is Capt Bergerson. Is his.
That's me.
And I'm gonna. Misclick, what's your name on Twitter?
Underscore misclick underscore.
Just 1 second.
And you want to be referred to as just Misclick?
That's fine.
Right.
Oh, there it is.
There's like a club in here.
Yeah.
So what games has everybody been playing lately? I think
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
I still haven't beaten the final boss yet. I'm just trying to get as powered up as I can.
Goodness, you're exploring a lot. That's freaking awesome.
Even though I've done none of the side quests except for the shrine quests.
That's totally okay. Totally fine. No problem at all.
Misclick, don't judge.
No, I ain't judging at all. Believe me, it like took me so long to freaking to beat games. Like I just beat a couple myself that I've been working on for a while because I was on break. I get the chance to.
Okay. Tweet it out the stream now, Jesse.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have returned.
Welcome back, hero.
Thank you.
Alright. If you can share.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Put something in. Oh, it fell already. Alright.
It
Daniel,
was for comedic effect.
in the announcements.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, do you want me to go tweet out and put the...
Or do you mean announcements on Discord?
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
So I updated the image so that it is the new one.
It's still showing last week's. It happens sometimes. Yeah, it's weird.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I think it just takes a while to change.
We used to have the same background, Daniel.
What? Oh, wait. You mean,
Yeah. The Zelda.
This, yeah? Mm-hmm. It's the same as Miss Click's poster back there, actually.
Oh.
That's a good picture.
Awesome.
It is good.
I actually like it. I could never find a picture better than this one. I don't think I'll ever replace it. It's such a good, like, painting, and it's just, gets the fanboy blood moving.
I just have an alchemic circle as my background. I love alchemy. It's so cool.
Oh, no, the thumbnail looks good, Jesse. The thumbnail is proper.
Let me see. Let me see.
It's proper.
Someone on the Discord says, "What's the podcast about today?" You'll find out.
It's a surprise.
Same thing it is every week. 2-week-old Zelda news.
Hey, Zelda news is it's good no matter what, no matter how old it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Oh, Gibbs is in the chat. He says you have the same lock screen.
Oh, hello, Gibbs. Yes.
I took my background now is actually the Champions picture from the DLC. I have that as my background now, just because I got so many feels from it, and I was just like,
that is my phone.
Where they're all hugging.
Yeah.
Daniel, that's a funny announcement message. Hey, friendos, we are live. Come watch us, or else.
It's a good announcement. Okay, so I got the Champions image for my phone background. Also, don't mind the fact that my phone is horribly cracked. But
do you want to see my phone how cracked it is?
And then this.
I don't have a phone that can support
background. That. I love my background.
Oh, I love that one so much. When I saw that picture, I was like, feels.
So feels. Even if Zelda 1 like never had the Master Sword, but
my
background.
This is what Gibbs was wondering what the podcast was about. This is it. We're just comparing all our swag.
My background picture is the same it's been for like 2 years.
So freaking cute. Now she has like even more curls and everything though.
Yeah.
My middle sister had a lot of curls.
Oh, that's adorable.
Thank you. She is the most.
She's adorable, just like her daddy.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe we can. There we go. It's like good enough. What? I couldn't hear you, Daniel.
He's got really quiet.
Yeah,
you got very quiet on.
I think it's going through your internal microphone instead of your Yeti.
Jesse.
Oh, what the?
No, I just was adjusting my volume because I thought it was peaking too much, so I turned it down. But I guess I turned it down too much.
Yeah, you sound fine right now. So.
Too much.
All right. Let's see here.
I'm gonna say the whole podcast like this.
ASMR.
Okay. And everybody's gonna be like, "What's he saying?" I can hear him swallowing.
Oh gosh, Daniel, don't do that.
Okay, that's enough.
Thank you.
Just kidding. You're fine. J-Links, I'm great, dude. How are you? I'm great. I am just enjoying every second away from you guys. I don't miss you at all.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
All right.
I'm kidding.
Now
I love you. I love you.
Daniel,
open up the chat.
if you want to post in the mod squad and ask some of the mods there if they want to come, try to keep the chat kid friendly.
I'll do it.
Or
I'll do it.
Yeah, Ashley can do it because my announcements are too weird.
And then we can begin as soon. Well, I guess right now.
Should I be recording my? I have my
No,
setup to record
there's
it.
for the way that I record it is I have my recording as one audio and then everyone else's, like the headphone audio, as the second audio source. And
Sounds good.
for me to use just your audio, everybody else would have to record their own audio as well. And it's just easier if I use the backup. That way not everyone has to record. It's just one person, me, doing it. So it's all good.
Great, that makes it easier
Right,
and
you
less
ready, Daniel?
taxing my computer. I'm ready.
Miss Click,
I
you
was
ready?
born ready.
I'm always ready. You know me.
And Ashley, you ready?
Vroom, vroom. My motorcycle is revving and ready to go.
Oh, that's not the right
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
I just know there's a collection of GIFs out on the internet of just Miss Click making faces.
Oh, do you know who
Somewhere
J-Link is, Miss Click?
Oh, I know. He's one of the people who makes all of those freaking emotes.
Okay.
He's one of them.
He, I didn't know this. He was one of the first people on my Discord server. Like, when it was
Really?
first... Yeah, he said he was there when there was only like 11 people. So...
Jesse, I typed in the mod squad that we need some help with moderating, and there are a few people saying that they're not mods in your streams. So you might want to fix that if you want
I'm
people to help.
making them. I see J-Link.
What do we
is
need
now
them
mod.
for?
Hyrule Gamer, add moderator, Gibbs. Gibbs was supposed to be a mod. That must be a different YouTube channel. Alright.
Sin, hi! Sin Elita's here too. He's one of my patrons. Hi, buddy.
Oh,
good to see
hello.
you.
Alright,
Ooh.
everybody ready?
Yes.
Everybody's
I'm ready.
to go.
I'm ready.
Alright. Let's see if I can do this without messing up. Alright. Alright. Let me go back to the Google Doc. I'm trying to get the Google Doc up. I can remember what I'm supposed to say, but I can't remember the names of all of the Patreons. So,
Okay.
Alright. Everybody's good?
Everybody's good.
Alright. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as some of you all may know me, and here with me today is my good friend, Daniel. Go ahead and introduce yourself for those who may not know who you are.
Hey everybody, I'm Daniel. If you don't know who I am, this is probably your first time watching this podcast. I co-host. You can follow me on Twitter at @CaptBurgerson, and I do lots of fun things. And I spent all morning just changing the colors of people's titles on Discord. So
Yes, we
that's
went
what
through
I do.
heavily organized the Discord server since we're reaching 1,000 people.
I played with colors.
We have 2 guests here with us for the first time on the podcast, but not the first time on the channel. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Champion Ashley, for those who may not know who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Champion Ashley, and I am a very small channel as of right now. I do mostly Nintendo stuff, but when I have the opportunity, I do discussions and Kingdom Hearts-based stuff. I also do quite a lot of Pokemon and Zelda, and while I don't do it right now, I have a series called Lore of Gaming where I talk about the lore of your favorite video game franchises. So even though I haven't done one in a while, but hopefully I might get on one soon when the opportunity calls for it. So yeah, that's me.
All right, and last but not least is another special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Miss Click.
I'm not special. I'm just kidding. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Miss Click. I was up until actually recently a Twitch and YouTube streamer. I will be now just a Twitch streamer and a YouTube specific content creator. I stream pretty much all games ranging. My childhood love was Nintendo. I've spread my love now to PC gaming as well. So we do a whole bunch of different games. Also uploading content to YouTube. You can find me at almost everything. Misclick Gaming on YouTube, at _Misclick on Twitter, on Instagram. If that's too confusing for you, misclickgaming.com is probably the easiest to find all of my links on everything.
All right.
And that's it.
And it is the week of February 10th. So we have a lot of great news concerning apparently the leaked Metroid Prime 4 developers. Nintendo has given details on their Switch rewards system. I'm getting tongue-tied. We should have started this. There has been confirmation on Toad's head being an actual head and not a hat, like a lot of people theorized. Crash Bandicoot may be coming to the Nintendo Switch.
So excited.
And we have new trailer and possible release dates for Kingdom Hearts 3. And then, as always, we will end with questions sent in from viewers like yourself. If you have questions that you would like to have answered, comment them below on the live chat, on our Discord, or in the video. But if you want to guarantee your question gets answered on the podcast, head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where we will prioritize your questions along with a lot of other cool rewards that you can receive, just as our Patreons who are receiving a shout out right now, who is George Martinez, Megan Neal, Casey Willis, Rusty Caulfield, Link Use the Triforce, Tight-Lipped Gaming, Robbie Morgan, shout out to us, Lovable Christie, Key of Time 15, Lunarium, Ashley, Monica, and Michelle. Thank you all for your support, and to finally begin the podcast, we have some interesting Metroid Prime 4 news. Daniel, since you are the Metroid fan on here, why don't you go ahead and start us out?
You're muted. Your mic's not working.
What happened? Daniel.
I think he muted himself.
How's that?
Okay.
There we go.
What'd you do?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I wasn't working, but I just went into my sound setting and I just changed it by 1%, and
things
boom,
were going so smoothly.
Swimmingly already.
All we had was my self being tongue-tied, so
yeah,
it wouldn't have been a podcast if there were no technical issues.
As I say, oh yeah, so I do love me some Metroid, as Jesse said. I've rambled and rambled. So this news comes from GoNintendo.com, who actually cites Eurogamer, so it's news within news. Yes. Internet rumors this week pegged Bandai Namco as being the mystery studio behind Metroid Prime 4's development, something multiple sources have now confirmed to Eurogamer as being accurate. Specifically, the highly anticipated Nintendo Switch exclusive is being developed by Bandai Namco Studios Singapore, which we understand is lead studio on the game in collaboration. with Nintendo. That's the article. That's the whole thing. So,
riveting article.
Yeah,
it's
so this kind of goes along with I've heard people talk about this in terms of Bandai Namco helped a lot on the most recent Super Smash Brothers, which is one of Nintendo's...
That's how they got Pac-Man in.
Yeah, so there was a lot of people thinking, like, why would Nintendo trust this company with a series like Metroid? But then you think about, well, they helped on the newest Smash Brothers game. And if Nintendo's willing to let them have control of one of their biggest, best-selling game franchises, which is Smash Brothers, why wouldn't they trust them with Metroid, which comparatively doesn't sell well at all? Like, that's why there was a long gap between the older Metroid games and Metroid Prime, and then after Metroid Prime 3, there was the gap between then and, well, we still haven't gotten like a real Metroid Prime game. But the reason that they aren't as common as like Zelda or Mario is that the series, even with the Prime series, doesn't sell that well. So with this, Nintendo, I don't see them as it being Nintendo taking a risk letting Bandai Namco develop this new game, if that is what's going on, because if the series hasn't sold that great before, then they're not going to really lose anything financially if it doesn't do well, because the best selling games still haven't sold well compared to like Zelda and Mario and stuff. So basically, if Nintendo's willing to trust them with Smash Brothers, which is one of their highest selling franchises, then obviously they're going to trust them with something that doesn't make nearly as much money as Metroid. Not saying Metroid is bad, because I'm a fan of Metroid. It's just factually it doesn't sell nearly as well as some of the other franchises, which is why we don't get a new Metroid every single year like Mario. So I just wanted to give that tidbit in there.
And let's also remember that Retro was the kind of the same situation when they took on Prime, like the original Metroid Prime, because they weren't really a well-known studio, and people were like, why is Nintendo taking this huge risk trusting this other studio? And arguably, Nintendo and Namco have a way better relationship than Nintendo did with Retro when Retro started with Metroid Prime. So it's, I don't know, like, and then Mercury Stream just did the last Metroid game. Again, huge risk, another third-party game or developer. So it's, it's not uncommon for them to outsource their Metroid games. They pretty much haven't made their own Metroid in-house since Super Metroid. So, yeah.
Well, right. I mean, you also have to think too that I think Prime would have been more pinnacle if it had more of a storyline focus, but it never really was that. It was, more on just a continuous flow of action and gameplay. But they also, which I think is incredibly underrated, is you have to remember they worked on Star Fox Assault with them as well. Namco wasn't partnered with that. And to be honest, that's probably, I hate to say it, that's probably my favorite. I don't hate to say it, but it's probably my favorite Star Fox game. Great mix of story, great mix of gameplay and multiplayer. I had siblings and friends always over at the house, and that was one of our favorite games to play. And I'm talking, we had like 10, 11 kids over rotating in and out, like if you came in last or third or fourth place, like you're getting rotated out. So just a great game. So I think kind of knowing that on top of Smash, I think that kind of puts it underneath the belt even more of, I think this is going to be a good result. Obviously don't get your hopes up, but still at the same time. And then, we'll see where it goes from there. I would like to see probably more of a prominent storyline in Metroid, for this new Prime, probably a little bit more than you have seen a little bit in the previous ones. Just a little bit more focus on that, because it always hasn't been the biggest focus of Metroid compared to like things like Zelda and even Mario in a sense.
All right, so something that I wanted to add in really quick, Ashley. This is some other news that goes with this, so it's not me just interrupting you. This is actual news. But coming, this is sort of a news story that kind of tie into this about the specific team. This comes from Polygon, and it is an update about the same story. It says, specifically, the highly anticipated Nintendo Switch exclusive is being developed by Bandai Namco Studio Singapore, which we understand is the studio lead on the game in collaboration with Nintendo. Eurogamer said the studio houses some former LucasArts Singapore staff who previously worked, among other things, the ambitious canceled Star Wars 1313. Now, if you remember Star Wars 1313, that was the story-based Uncharted-esque, in terms of the way that it played. It was supposed to be like an Uncharted-like gameplay story, but it was Star Wars. It was canceled, and apparently the team that's working on Metroid is also the team that worked on this game, which means if they use any of the same art style or gameplay mechanics, then it's going to be the most realistic looking Metroid game that we are going to get, because the Star Wars 1313 looked absolutely amazing. So like it was essentially on par with how realistic, even though they kind of have a bad name because of the loot crates, but Star Wars Battlefront 2 looks amazing. So if you could imagine a Metroid game, probably not on that level because that's for PlayStation 4 and stuff, but something taking as much advantage of the power that's within the Nintendo Switch as it can. So there's a lot of hope that this game isn't just going to be like another toony-ish game from Nintendo. It likely going to be just as graphically intense as other first-person shooters that we're used to. But yeah, sorry, continue, Ashley.
Well, actually, I just wanted to ask a question. Was Metroid Other M produced by Retro?
Like, was Ninja.
Oh, then Ninja. Never mind, because I was about to say that if Retro did make Other M, then that would probably, them switching game studios is probably a good move, because the last Metroid, like, official, like, huge console Metroid game that we all know about, Other M. So
let's not go there, because if anybody knows me, I'm a very high advocate for Other M.
So, then never. Then I'm sorry. Then, well, I'm just saying that I think that Bandai Namco taking on the lead is a safe move, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I think playing the safe route is very good, especially with a franchise like Metroid, because it's been slouching in the sales throughout the years. And I think that having some company that produced something like Smash is a very good move business-wise. Now, do I think that Bandai Namco can do Metroid justice? Well, they made Smash. I mean, I think that Smash 4 was a pretty good game, and I think that it's just a matter of will it please the fans rather than it being good. Because I have a very good feeling that Bandai Namco will do very well at producing a Metroid game. It's just a matter of will it help the sales and will it help the fans? And that's a very good question that we need to think about more than rather is this a very good move switching it over to Bandai Namco, rather than will it be good business-wise? Yes, since it's a safe move business-wise. And will the fans be okay with a studio like Bandai Namco taking on such a seemingly precious franchise as Metroid?
Yeah, I have full faith in it. Typically, whenever a franchise is coming back like this, like there's been other Metroid Prime games, Metroid Prime Hunters, was it on the 3DS? So there has been other games in the series, but there hasn't been like an actual new Metroid Prime game like this. So whenever a franchise comes back, the studio or publisher doesn't want to put that much money into it unless they know it'll make a lot of money. So they might put a smaller budget into bringing a franchise back or making a brand new franchise, but then if it sells well, they'll put even more money into the sequel. So with them coming out with this Metroid Prime 4, not knowing how well it'll sell, especially compared to older Metroid games, which didn't sell that well, I would be afraid that maybe they could make a great game, but because of possibly not that big of a budget, they would not be able to finish everything that they would actually need to finish, so they kind of have to scale back in terms of what they can achieve. But the other side to that is we see a lot of indie games selling a lot better than they do on other consoles, even with the larger games. We just there was a report saying that earlier I read Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which was on the PlayStation 4 for a long time, and the PlayStation 4 has more consoles sold than Switch or Xbox, especially the Nintendo Switch. But the Nintendo Switch has already outsold more copies of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 on the Switch than the PlayStation 4 has copies. And that's on a console that has a lot fewer units and has been out for a lot less time. So I think, or at least I'm hoping, Nintendo will look at that and see, well, games that are on other consoles are selling better on this, so the fans of the Nintendo Switch, like, people are wanting to buy games for the Nintendo Switch. So I'm hoping they look at that, and instead of thinking, well, this game hasn't sold well in the past, so we're not going to give it that big of a budget because we don't know if we'll make back all of that money, I hope they look at the fact that people that own Switch want to play games, and there's not really a game like Metroid on the Nintendo Switch. Like, there's a few shooters and stuff, but there's nothing like what Metroid's going to be. So I hope, again, that they look at that and see that there is a lot of potential there and give the game the budget that it needs. That way it doesn't feel like it was just shoved out or was only given half of the respect that it needed for development.
Right.
So
I think at this point, to be honest, I feel like what the Switch has done very well is in itself instilling a sense of hype, and not just through its marketing and its amazing commercials, because I mean, I don't think anybody could deny that Nintendo has just upgraded their commercial, like, quality so much. Like, you look at Wii U and how they're trying to sell their commercials, and then look at Switch and how they're selling the commercials and all their games. It's so different. So I think that the Switch already has enough hype as it is, but then, I mean, you take a look at all the different reactions, even just posted for Metroid Prime, essentially, like, just a picture, of how many people are responding. I think right now it's not necessarily, I don't think Nintendo would, kind of like half do a game, because I feel like most of their games, like, what is the quote that Miyamoto always says, like, a rushed game is forever a bad game, but it's okay to delay a game and have it be a good game. I don't think they're afraid necessarily to take their time with games, and that's why we haven't seen anything for so long. But I think at this point it's pretty much like the hype is gonna sell it. It's gonna give it, I think, more of a boost than if it didn't have it. I think at this point it's kind of like, when it comes out, how is the reputation going to uphold? This could be really, really good for them and their reputation, or it could be really, really bad. So I think from that point, it's like they're on this. I think it's gonna be almost like, I don't want to say a milestone, but more of like I feel like we're on the tipping point of people will either be really happy or really, disappointed. And I think that people will buy the game. It's just, are they going to be happy with it after the fact? Kind of like No Man's Sky. Like, it had so much hype, much hype, and so many people bought the game, and then, like, so many people returned it, like, after the fact. And it was very unfortunate. There's some people, like, they still kind of play it, and there's been content added in after the fact, but it's just like, I don't think it's going to come to that point to where it'll be like that, but that's kind of where they are right now. Is the hype, I feel like, will sell it pretty well. It's just the delivery of how people feel, and, like, not coming in necessarily with expectations of this is going to be exactly like the first 3 primes, because maybe they are wanting to change things up. If people thought the other M was, too sappy or too emotional, and some people thought that Prime, could have delivered on a little bit more, on some facets, maybe, like, find that happy middle. That's what I think.
All right. And Does anyone else have any final thoughts on this before we move on to the next topic? Really quick, going around just a few sentences. What's everyone, like, their hopes or expectations for Metroid Prime 4? Whether it's a new mechanic they add in, some crazy way the game interacts with, what's it called? The HD rumble for the Joy-Cons.
Mm-hmm.
So just something that you're hoping this has, even, like, a Nintendo Labo tie-in? I don't know.
I think it would be really cool to have some tie-in with the Joy-Cons actually being used, like, for more than just a controller. Like, you're using the motion, the gyroscopic aiming in some way, and, HD Rumble would be really cool if they actually used it in a way that is actually unique to HD Rumble. That's not just ice cubes or balls shaking around. And I don't know. I kind of expect it to be something of a return to form to like the first 3 Prime games, because we kind of saw the return to form of 2D Metroids with Samus Returns. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll have sort of a return to form in the same way with Prime. But I would like.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay.
So I think what I would really want a Metroid Prime 4 would probably, for the sake of, so we always wonder what Samus was like. We got kind of a taste of that in Other M. I think from this, it would be kind of, where's the placement going to be? You know, like how, like, is this going to be a Prime game that's going to be like placed way later on? Or is this going to be, you know, like kind of close to the trilogy? I would assume it'd probably be closer than further away, but I would definitely just like more development on the characters and more interaction, I think, with everything else going on, not necessarily just about exploring. Because like, if from what I remember of just the first Prime, you know, it's pretty much like you literally felt like you were isolated like the entire game, and a lot of people love that, but I would just like to see a little bit more, you know, even on that base of just being a little bit more interpersonal. For me, I'm really big on storylines and stuff like that, but I think Metroid would do well to have a little bit more depth to it.
All right, and you, Ashley?
I'm probably gonna make a lot of people mad with this, but I've never played a Metroid game in my life, so I can't really have a legitimate, honest opinion on this. An honest opinion about this, but the only thing that I wish for in this game is that it makes people happy and that people can enjoy Metroid again. All I want is just for people to be happy, that's all. I don't really have a legitimate game. Well, maybe a gameplay advice is that all of the developers these days are going after like open world stuff. Like Zelda, we have Breath of the Wild. Horizon Zero Dawn is an open world game. There are rumors that the next Pokemon game will be open world, you know, and I think that maybe Metroid could go down that road too. I don't know, it's just an idea. It's a half-baked idea.
No, that's great. Especially
that'd be interesting.
Going back to the everyone being happy, because I think that's what everybody wants. Is just not even Metroid related, just everyone to be happy. So, but with me personally, I'm going to kind of give a bit of a different answer with this. With okay, so a while back when Metroid Prime originally came out, the game that it was being compared to the most was Halo. So
yes,
I'm hoping that now we've seen games like Destiny kind of take the spot that Halo once had, and I'm a huge fan of Destiny. So my hope for this is if this game sells really well, then maybe not the next game like Metroid Prime 5 or whatever the follow-up to Metroid Prime 4 would be, but I'm hoping at some point that it does so well that we get to explore more than just the continued story that we've gotten. Like, open it up to where it is some sort of multiplayer-focused experience, more akin to Destiny.
Cool.
Like, I think if you just took what and this is just me, like if I could blow out some candles on a birthday cake, I would, because I really like Metroid and I really like Destiny, and I would love to see, like, obviously maybe not Nintendo, but if it's a different studio outside of Nintendo, like Bandai Namco or some other studio that is more used to making that type of game, if you could just take the style of game that Destiny is and put it inside the Metroid world, to where you're not just playing as Samus as a bounty hunter, but you can pick or create your own bounty hunter and then explore the different worlds in Metroid to go out and in the same way in Destiny you can go to different planets to do different missions. If you could do that but in the world of Metroid, to where you're just going to the different planets in that universe and then doing stuff, I think that would be really cool. But that's like 5-10 years away. What I'm hoping for this one would be really cool is if I just want it to, because we have Mario, which is like the cartoony art style. We have Breath of the Wild, which is
an anime
it's
style.
essentially like playing an anime. There hasn't been any Nintendo games to really take advantage of the power of the Nintendo Switch to give us something realistic. A lot of people think that because the Switch isn't as powerful as the PlayStation 4 or whatever, it can't give us something that's realistic. But even if you look at the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, those were able to give us graphics that were realistic. If you go back and look at like Battlefield or Call of Duty, the Switch is a lot more powerful than what those consoles are. So if you look at how good something could potentially look on the PlayStation 3, then you can automatically assume that something on the Switch could look even better, because we've seen that with games that have been ported over, brought up, like Skyrim on the Switch, as an example, looks a lot better than it did on the PlayStation 3. Like, it's in that half ground between like where the old generation was and the new one. So if Nintendo would be able to, because I think Metroid would be the game that you could do this with, if you could make it that realistic first-person shooter-esque style game that people that are fans of Call of Duty or these other first-person shooters, like, that could be the game to bring them over. Maybe they don't want something as playful or colorful as Mario. They don't want a huge open-world adventure game like Zelda. But if they're used to just playing Call of Duty, Battlefield, Overwatch, or whatever, and they look at the Switch and they don't really see anything that could pull them over, I think Metroid could be that game if Nintendo does it right. So as great as the Nintendo Switch is selling, there are still the people that may not be interested in it, and I think Metroid could potentially be that game that brings over... It could be
their Call of Duty.
Yeah, like all of the people that are the casual gamers that just play Call of Duty and stuff, I think this could be the game that brings them in. Are you all set, Daniel?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead and take us into our next story.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Nintendo. Oh, I accidentally just closed the tab. So, starting in early March, you can redeem gold points for eligible digital purchases for the Nintendo Switch system from your My Nintendo account. So, there's a little blurb here on the article. My Nintendo members already earn gold points by buying qualifying games. However, an exciting change is coming. Starting in March, My Nintendo members will be able to redeem gold points for eligible digital games and content for the Nintendo Switch system. Here's how it works. Buy a qualifying digital game for Nintendo Switch, Wii U, or Nintendo 3DS family systems, or a physical game for the Nintendo Switch system. Earn gold points worth 5% of the amount you pay, not including any points or discounts used. You can then redeem those points on your next. Oh my goodness, I can't speak, Jesse. You've passed it on to me.
Rip.
On your next eligible digital purchase, including games and DLC for the Nintendo Switch system, from Nintendo eShop or Nintendo.com. Of course, you can also continue to redeem your points for existing My Nintendo rewards for Wii U or Nintendo 3DS systems. Stay tuned for more details.
Is someone typing?
Yes, 1 second.
Oh.
I hear something. I don't know.
I guess it was him or someone in his background I didn't know. But yeah, like we seen Nintendo take away their old reward system, Nintendo or Club Nintendo. Were you guys a part of that?
I was.
No.
No. Oh. Yeah, most of my posters I actually got from Club Nintendo. They had a lot of exclusive posters. It was around the time Skyward Sword came out.
They also had the gold nunchuck. You remember that?
Yes.
I didn't have enough points. Oh man, my mom wouldn't let me buy anything else. I was like, Mom, I just want the golden nunchuck.
Oh yeah.
And then there I was, just playing Wii Sports all alone.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
I
did you
ruined
knock something
everything.
over?
Yes, I did.
I thought you fell
Daniel.
over. I'm like, oh gosh, Daniel.
Okay. Well,
Jeez.
this is fun.
Continue on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's a lot of cool stuff there. It's really cool that they mentioned that whenever they were going to start their mobile phone stuff, that there was going to be a way where their smartphone games could interact with their console games. And I didn't really understand what they meant by that, but now it's like you were able to earn the coins and stuff in Mitamo or some other games. So now we can see how we're actually able to use those, because before I think it was you can get the coins, but then you have to use them within
certain
the
amount
games
of time.
themselves. Yeah, within a certain amount of time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they're still doing that, but now there's a clear-cut way that's like, hey, if you have 100 coins or however many coins, you can use that to get a discount on Mario Odyssey or whatever. Originally, I thought they were going to do something like with Super Mario Run, to where if you purchase the game, you make your way through the game to where after you play it for 2 or 3 hours, Nintendo, a little message pops up on Super Mario Run's like, hey, you seem to enjoy this game. If you would like to play like an actual Mario experience, then here is $10 off or $5 off of Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. That way they can kind of use games on one platform to sell games on another. They haven't really done that yet. I'm hoping, since they just released Animal Crossing, whenever they finally release Animal Crossing on Switch, I'm hoping there are some crossover stuff. Like Daniel and I talked on the last podcast, and he's back now. So
one of these days I'll participate in the podcast.
Yeah.
So get this. I've got these Beats. There's these headphones I wear, and I've got these other headphones, these Beats.
Yeah.
So I knocked a bunch of stuff over.
Did you break
and
them?
look.
What? Oh, I've done that before to my headphones too.
That's not good.
Just get some Gorilla Glue and glue them together and they'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, but womp womp. So...
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I feel like
That's okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm just...
Oh boy.
See, the cool thing, because headphones usually
F to pay respects, please. F to pay respects.
tear up easily. So my
Yeah.
headphones, the cable can unplug from the actual headset themselves, and I can't hear anything right now, so I'm just going to keep talking while I fix this.
Oh, now's our chance.
But
Now's our chance.
there's a really cool thing.
Jesse sucks. Everybody talk trash.
Yeah, so there's a really
heard
cool
Jesse
thing that they
likes
could potentially do
Ketchup
with
on his milkshakes.
the Animal
gonna be
Crossing, as
jealous.
Daniel and I were talking about last week.
Oh, hey Jesse, welcome
Yeah.
back.
No, I
You
heard,
can hear us the
I heard
entire
all of
time.
the I suck stuff. But there was the thing that we were talking about last week with Animal Crossing. I think it was last week at least, where they use their games on their smartphones to promote their actual games on the Switch. It would be really cool, and this is kind of my dream. All of the stuff that you build inside Animal Crossing, all of the stuff you have in your house, if you could take that whenever you get the Switch version and somehow load in your house from the cell phone to the Switch or some of the items that you got, that way you're not essentially starting from nothing in the Switch
Regrinding?
version. Yes.
But so many hours on that
And
game.
then, for example, if you're at work and you don't want to bring your Switch with you while you're on break, you can do stuff like play for 10 minutes, get a new item, and then once you get home, you can take that item and somehow move it over so you can use it on the actual game. I think that would be a really cool way to not just make more money for Nintendo, but for them to have people that love the game to get the console, or people that's just like, why would I play Animal Crossing on my smartphone when I already have it on the Switch? Why would I go and put money into it and stuff? But if they find out like, oh, well, while I can't play Animal Crossing on Switch, I can still earn stuff that I can use in that. So I think that would be a cool way they could have them interact. I know that's a bit different than what they're doing with their coins and stuff, but I think any kind of crossover they can do, whether it are these coins that you can earn on the mobile games or buying the actual games, it's really cool to see some sort of interaction, and that's the direction that I hope they go into. That way it promotes, like, they're using the mobile games to promote their actual games, and they're using the home console games to promote their cell phone games. And the coins, bringing back this Club Nintendo type thing is really cool. You didn't get a chance to say, were you in the Club Nintendo where you could get the posters and stuff, Daniel?
No. I wasn't.
Sad.
Neither was I, Daniel,
There's
so
much stuff
you don't have to feel bad.
I remember there was a lot of people, like whenever I would go to a friend's house and I would ask them, like I would see them with the Nintendo Wii and they would have a huge stack of games, and I'd be like, have you gotten any stuff from Club Nintendo? They're like, no, what's that? I don't care about that. I explain it to them, and they're like, they still don't care. So then I'm like, well, can I sign your... Yeah,
can I register
use the stuff? Because sometimes it would be like you... I also explained this. They had certain things. I think it was like if you bought a certain game, you would get a code when you registered to Club Nintendo that it would let you download another game. And it was like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon or something. I bought that, and they gave me, whenever I typed in the code on Club Nintendo, they gave me Super Mario 3D Land for free. And then there was another game that I bought for the Wii U. I think it may have been Wind Waker HD, to where if you bought that game, they gave you a code for Pikmin 3 for the Wii U.
Yes, because I did that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like if you bought like the
wow, I missed out on a lot.
Yeah.
Did you buy the Zelda Wii U? Like the actual...
Oh, no. I just bought the... I just have like the standard white one. But yeah, like this whole thing is pretty cool. I feel bad for the people because there was something that I read where it said that people who have already used their codes or whatever to put in the numbers from the games they've already bought.
Is it not going to count?
It counts, but after this launches or goes live or whatever changes they're going to make, the Switch titles that you put in are going to be worth a lot more. So
it's kind of in your favor if you've been procrastinating and not entering them like I have.
Yeah, so I haven't typed in any of the codes. I haven't really dealt with it because as far as I knew, it was only stuff that you could do on mobile games. But now that they actually have real value to me, and it's not just like, oh, I get a new shirt in Animal Crossing or something. Now it's like, hey, you can get 10% or possibly get 10% off or $10 off of this game by using the codes. Now I have a reason to actually
worth my time now.
Yeah, but really quick before we move on to the next story, what is everybody's thoughts on this? I'm going to fix my headphones again, so feel free.
Once again, I don't have an opinion on this because I didn't use this system, so you guys make interesting conversation.
No, I'm glad. I think it's a good idea. You know, like rewarding. I think companies in general who have a reward system. First off, I see Lindsay with that $5 super chat over there. Bless your face.
What? Oh, thank you,
Lindsay, one of my miscreants. Yes, give Jesse some love.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank
he's
you.
Such a sweetheart. Love you, Jeff. Lindsay. Anyways, I think, but yeah, like reward systems work very well for incentivizing things. Like you think of Starbucks. When they launched like their stars program, I mean, I'm more of a Dunkin' Donuts person, but like when they give you emails saying like you can earn more stars if you do this during this specific time, or if you buy this specific product, like it encourages people. People are like, hey, you want to go to Starbucks? I'm like gonna get extra stars, and people will be like, yeah, I sound like a basic white girl right now. I am so sorry, but I mean, you think companies in general who Well, like one of my favorites, like you think of like frozen yogurt places. Like you go like 10 times and they clip your card each time, and then like your 10th or 11th visit, like you get like buy one get one free or something like that, and it's just like
yeah,
yo,
I know that system.
Yeah, like reward systems.
I deal with that a lot.
Yeah, they work great. You know, it kind of feels like they're giving back to you in a little bit. Where Nintendo takes away in some aspects, it's kind of nice they give back in other places. So I like it. I think it's good.
See, I like Starbucks and Tim Hortons.
I wish we had Tim Hortons here. I wish we did.
Oh, we have Tim Hortons where I live. I should send you some Timbits. Friendship.
I've only ever heard of Tim Hortons. I've never had the pleasure of visiting. Just like
oh, my grandpa used to bring me Tim Hortons all the time when we were little.
Yeah,
when he used to babysit us.
There's the restaurant Cheeky Nando's in the UK. I've always heard of that, but I've never been able to go.
Oh, Cheeky Nando.
Have you had Chick-fil-A?
I know Nando's.
I'm just gonna say though, as an authentic, a real live Canadian, Tim Hortons is overrated.
What? I love it. It was so good.
The coffee, okay, actually I like their food, but it takes them 8 years to make a sandwich. And like it takes them so long. It boggles my mind. And then the coffee is really bad. I think McDonald's coffee is better, and that's really saying something because people who know me IRL know I'm really picky about my coffee. So
oh, interesting.
I feel, Daniel, that since your headphones got ruined, you're kind of bummed out with the podcast.
A little.
Now. Like you can't get excited about anything because your expensive headphones are ruined. I feel bad about that.
Well, I got them for free, but I mean, still, they were still Beats.
Yeah, but you got up because I mentioned like the keyboard or whatever. So it's like if I wouldn't have mentioned that, I feel like they wouldn't have been.
It's okay. It's not your fault, Jesse. It's my own fault
Daniel,
for being clumsy.
Just get Gorilla Glue and glue them back together, and it'll be fine.
It'll be okay. But as for the My Nintendo stuff,
let's get back to our topic.
I think it's a step in the right direction, but what I'd really like to see them do, which is a bit slightly off topic, is I really want their eShops to line up. Because just as an example, let's say I bought Earthbound on my Wii U on the eShop. Mm-hmm. I don't want to buy it again on the Switch.
Oh, you mean like having like an account?
But what about
a system that's all tied together like that?
What about what they did with the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console, where you could buy the game again, but with the Wii and the Wii U, they had it so that if you purchased, say, Super Mario Bros. On the Wii, then you could only pay, it was like $1 or $2 or something like that to get the HD version on the Wii U. So you weren't buying the full game again, you're just paying like $2 to get the game.
I did that as well with Super Metroid, actually, as people know I love. I downloaded it originally on my Wii, I played through it. When I got my Wii U, I did the whole data transfer with the really cool Pikmin animation that it does, where they're carrying all your save data over to the Wii U, and then I could either save my money and just go into the Wii menu through the Wii U and then play the game, or I could re-download it again and pay $1.50 or something. And I ended up doing that. I just bought it again because I love that game, and I wanted to have like the suspend points that those Wii U eShop has. But it's, after the thought, like, how many different versions of that game do I have? I went halfsies with my brother to get a Super Nintendo cartridge of it a while back. I got it on my Wii, and I rebought it again on the Wii U, and I have a Super Nintendo Mini with Super Metroid on it. Jeez. And I'm like, I gotta stop buying this same game over and over again.
It's kind of like they have the new Hyrule Warriors coming out, right? And I was like, watch the preview, I'm like, dang, I've spent so much time on my Wii U version. And then like they launched like Breath of the Wild skins, and I'm like,
yeah.
I know I'm gonna buy it. It's a train wreck.
That's what Lady Pilvic was saying whenever she was on, because she said that, I think she was saying she had bought all of the
all the
DLC and stuff
for the Wii U version,
and spent so much time. And now it's like, oh, it's all free on the Switch, and it's like, no.
Well, they did that with Mario Kart too.
Yeah.
And Mario Kart, I couldn't physically get upset because my disc started giving me that it was like a manufacturer problem, but it was out of warranty, so I had to buy a new one anyway. But still, I was like, man, if my game wasn't actually broken, I would be upset. And like now, I'm actually starting to feel it with Hyrule Warriors, and I'm like,
I think I have a love for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Maybe not just for the game itself, but because it was the first game that I was sent by Nintendo to review. So like it was the first game that I was playing like 2 weeks before everyone else. So it has a special place in my heart. But moving on to our next news story.
Can I say one thing?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yes, say a thing.
Hashtag where's the VC? Let's get it trending. Come on. Hashtag where's the virtual console?
Oh,
come on, let's get.
I thought you were gonna say voice
trending
chat.
on the chat. Well, let's do that in the voice chat. Hashtag where's the VC?
Yeah,
put that in now.
That's what RPG was saying, dude. RPG was saying.
Hashtag where's the VC?
Ashley or Miss Click, would either of you like to host any of these next news stories?
Ooh.
I'm doing Kingdom Hearts. I'm calling it now.
All right.
Let's do Kingdom Hearts.
You can have that. Next on the list, what?
This is the best news story in the entire history of this podcast.
Why not? I didn't even know this was a debate. I mean, I guess okay. Anyways. So next on the list for news is the title is so funny. Okay, so I thought this was a joke, but Nintendo ruins childhoods and claims that Toad isn't wearing a hat, and we're not sure what to believe. Love him.
Wow.
Love him or loathe him, he's been a part of nearly every Nintendo gamer's childhood.
Wait, where is the news coming from, Miss Click?
So this is coming from Metro Gaming. Yeah,
okay.
Talking about the article's basically talking while the pros and cons of Toad and his fellow Toads may continue to be debated for time immemorial. We now have a definitive answer to the question that has reared its ugly head time and time again: is Toad's head a head or a hat? And I mean, do you want me to continue to read the rest? We're basically saying that, what was it? Who is he? Mr. How do you say his last name? Is it Koizumi?
Yeah, Koizumi.
Koizumi?
Yes, good job.
Koizumi.
He basically goes on to say that it was actually his head, and it's not in fact a hat. I know like a lot of people were very upset because the TV series in the 80s was saying that like he actually like takes off, like what looks like a hat, and he's just like this weird like.
He's just some weird,
just looks like an
freaky little guy.
Yeah, with like little tufts of hair. I mean, personally.
Sorry, finish what you were saying. All right, so I was gonna say the scary thing about this, which is I seen someone posting this on Twitter. I forgot their name, or I would give them a shout out. But it was essentially talking about the lifespan of an actual mushroom. If Toad is like this weird mutated mushroom human hybrid, that the way his head is to where it's round is how mushrooms kind of start out, and then whenever they open up to see the way that you would typically see a mushroom that you would be eating or something, where it folds out, his head would literally like unwrap or whatever and come around. So it's like it's a scary image. I'll post it in the actual video whenever I upload it. But they did a drawing of what Toad's head would look like if he actually went through the stages of an actual mushroom.
No.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah, so basically the round part of his head would like open up from the inside out, and just like it's very, very painful for a smiling for Toad.
I don't know.
I can only see it out of some weird morbid curiosity, but
I honestly never thought this was a debate. I mean, I would understand like if you did like watch the show as a kid, like that's just kind of something you never really thought about, but you always like maybe thought it was a given. Yeah. To me, like I consider like Mushroom Kingdom, Toadstool, like
me too.
I already just thought it was like how he was, and like in the cartoon, yes, he took it off, but never in the games. Did you ever see them without it? on. So to me, I was like if you, I just never really thought this was an issue. I mean, it's just pretty funny.
So
but
in the last Mario game on Wii U, hold on really quick, Paper Mario Color Splash, there was a part where they said, what was it? Toad had a quote in the game where he was talking to Mario or whoever, and he was saying, "I would tip my hat to you, but neither of us want that," or something like that. Like it was kind of playing on the joke. So he's saying like he could do it, but it would...
to Color Splash.
yeah. So that's essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, let's keep in mind in Mario Odyssey, in the spoilers in the Mushroom Kingdom level, there's a bunch of toads and they're all wearing hats, and all throughout the game, like Hint Toad, he wears a hat. You just see all these toads wearing hats. So if the toad head was a hat, why are they wearing hats on top of their hats?
Yeah.
Why would they do that? Why would they put a little hat on top of their big hats? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but may I say something, please?
Yes.
And this is me. This is my rant voice. Okay, so my question is, why are we focusing on this specifically? Like, don't we have like better things to talk and think about rather than debating? Oh, is it a hat or is it a mushroom?
This is scarring people. This is ruining their childhood. Why?
What is
it? What is
Why
it?
does it matter?
Or something like that. You think it's one thing, and your whole life has been a lie.
Like, what? No. Like, will it destroy you if Toad has a hat or it's a mushroom? No. Or maybe you're just one of those people who that happens to. But for me, why does this even matter? However, this is coming from a girl who never even watched the TV show, so maybe my opinion's better than, or not better, but different than everyone else. But me, I think of it as just a pointless debate. I see it as Toad, Mushroom Kingdom, Princess Toadstool. It's a mushroom. Why would it be a hat? Like, they get thrown all over the place, and they just, do they keep their hats on with, like, glue or something? I don't know, but I think it's a mushroom, not a hat.
It comes from, it's just a fun, silly debate that people have, in the same way that
people are taking it so seriously.
I don't think they're really taking it seriously.
Yeah, but, like, you can think of it in terms of the way people are serious in this way about Mario. Like, my channel is based off of like tiny things that no one should really care about when it comes to Zelda. Like there's in the new timeline for that Nintendo put out in one of their books, like they have the Hyrule Historia timeline where it has a Link to the Past, the 2 Oracle games, and then Link's Awakening, and all games share the same link. But in the revised timeline that they put out in a newer book, it just goes A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, and then the Oracle games come a whiles after, and it has a different link than A Link to the Past, whereas before it was the same link. Like, that's something so minute that no one really cares about. But then when it comes to the hardcore Zelda fans, it is something. So with this, there's people who are like, in the same way that we're all diehard Zelda fans, there are people who are just as crazy about Zelda or crazy about Mario who do look into this stuff, where it says like there's been quotes and stuff from other media, whether it be the cartoon where Toad's head is a hat, but now Nintendo says no, it's his actual head. I didn't really think there was a debate there before. I just thought it was something that people might think about for 10 seconds and move on, but apparently whoever this person in this interview, I guess, is just a huge Toad fan, in the same way there are crazy people out there who are huge Tingle fans.
Oh, geez.
Oh, not Tingle.
But still, this is coming from a person who has never watched the TV show, so maybe I'm getting on the wrong foot here, but it's just my opinion. My opinion isn't the be-all, end-all. It's just what I think.
Yeah.
Right. I think. Do you remember that book series though? Growing up, real quick, on a kind of unrelated note. Remember the Bernstein Bears, the Berenstein Bears?
Oh, yeah.
Me.
We all thought it was spelled one way, and like someone made a post like a couple years ago, and they're like, yeah, remember I thought it was spelled this way? It's actually spelled this way, and everybody was losing their minds.
Well, that
goes
goes
like
into
B-E-R-N.
That goes into the whole Mandela effect.
Yes.
Exactly what I'm saying. People were like, oh my gosh. And I remember I sat there and I was like, dude, did I just assume as a child? Or I don't know. Like, you just
what was it called? What effect was it called?
The Mandela effect.
Yeah.
I call it the Star Wars effect.
Oh,
Ba-na-na-na-na-na.
because of the Luke.
Josie, let's not get in that. Let's not open that can of worms, please. Please.
Oh, Daniel.
Oh, Daniel hung up. Oh, jeez.
And he's back. Daniel?
Having problems.
Danny, are you there?
Kind of. Maybe. Sort of.
Kind of. Not really. I think maybe his webcam turned off and...
Oh, good. All right.
Hello, Daniel.
Daniel, are you alive? Nope.
All right. Let's see here.
Oh, Scribble.
Let's take a second and just calm down, and we'll wait.
I'm gonna give him a call on Facebook. See if
I died.
answer.
He said I died. Don't die.
Don't die, please.
Okay, he's back.
Oh, okay, I'm here.
Okay, Dan, you're back. What happened?
I don't know, but hold on. You all sound so far away. Oh no.
Yeah, there's just lots of technical difficulty. Is it always this? Is it always going this wrong in podcasts?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
You never know technology.
Oh, okay.
Scribble said, did he die like his headphones? Oh no!
That's just a bit harsh.
Skype doesn't believe me that my microphone is plugged in. No.
Oh my gosh, what am I looking at?
No.
Well, at least we got through 3 news topics.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Well, while he's figuring out his webcam, we can move on to the next topic.
Yeah. Let's see here. Alright, Crash Bandicoot on Switch. I'll do this. I was gonna wait until he could get his settled or fixed. That way the editing would be a lot easier because I'd have to rearrange everything.
Then we can wait.
Now he's not there. Maybe he got off the phone so he could do it on Skype.
Is his camera just not working?
He said the Skype wasn't recognizing his microphone. So I think he logged into Skype on his phone. That way he could talk to us while he figured out his...
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for everyone...
I'm just gonna check up on random stuff while...
Hey guys.
Hey, is it back? Are you back?
Kind of. Can you actually hear me?
Yeah, we can
we can hear you.
Why
We
does
can't
it not?
see you, though.
Oh no.
Will it not use your webcam? There we go.
Oh! Yay!
But I can't hear you guys
Oh,
very well.
yay, there it
You
goes.
can't hear us?
We'll
Well-
talk very loud.
Okay, because it just sounds like you're all so far away.
Okay.
But hold on. Hold on.
Let's see.
You like my beagle? Thanks. I have a kitty one too. Look. Oh, wrong way. There you go.
Yes. Oh, so for everyone that's watching, at the end of after we get through with all of the news, we will be answering questions from all of the viewers. So
Okay.
get your questions ready while we do this. Are you
Okay.
ready, Daniel?
I think I'm like % sure I'm good. Say something.
Hello? Hello?
Something.
Okay, so I have to just... Usually we get the technical issues out of the way before we start recording.
We can just edit that. Jesse can just edit this out.
Yes, Jesse. You will do
We
all
can
the
put this in the
it was
bloopers.
perfect because the way that we finished talking about Toad and then the issues happened, so it's like, yeah,
keep moving on.
Oh, there we go. I hope our live audience just enjoyed that show.
Yeah, we'll put that in the bloopers.
So, are we all ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes.
All right. So, our next piece of news comes from Silicon Era, where they say Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy may be coming to PC and Nintendo Switch. No word for Xbox Live, but the details say a licensing manager in an interview for Licensing Sourcebook Europe. It's an odd name. Very literal, I guess.
Yeah.
May have accidentally revealed that Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is coming to PC and Nintendo Switch, as well as a new game coming in 2019, thanks Eurogamer. Eurogamer, obviously known for leaking lots of stuff, most of which comes out to be true, some don't, so who knows if this will. But it continues, according to the manager, the game was a huge success at retail with no marketing spend and will... Apparently this didn't go through an editor. Anyways, according to the manager, the game was a huge success at retail with no marketing spend and will be going to Nintendo Switch and PC in 2018. There will also be a new game coming in 2019, and this is all part of Activision's 5-year plan for the franchise. The manager works for GBI, a retailer working closely with Activision for Europe region Crash Bandicoot merchandise. He says that GBI is delighted to be fully on board for all products Crash Bandicoot related. The source of the statement, shown in the image, has since been edited to remove said statement. So this could be a thing to where they removed it because it wasn't true, or it could be something... I remember there was... Well, actually, there's just a lot of interviews. One, for example, Game Explain had an interview before the Nintendo Switch came out with one of the people who was in the Nintendo Switch commercial. So that first trailer that they released where everyone's playing like the esport arena Splatoon thing.
Yeah.
So he was one of the people in that, and he was talking about how whenever everyone's like drawing the plans on the piece of paper or the marker board, whatever it was, they just like after a while they just started drawing bad stuff. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it's a PG stream, but they essentially started drawing breasts and other male parts on the boards, and they said in some of the commercials, if you look at it, you can see some of the stuff that they were drawing because they were in the room just drawing around for like 6 hours while they filmed everything and had everything set up. So he was talking about that and some of the other stuff, like whenever they were on the Nintendo Switch, there was nothing actually on the screens. It was actually added in post-processing. So you see them playing the games, but they're not really playing anything. And then Nintendo contacted Game Explain to remove the podcast. So it could be something like that to where it was either stuff that wasn't factual, so they removed it because they didn't want to be looked at as a not credible source, or it could be something to where it was true, but Activision doesn't want anyone to know, so they told them to remove it. But it is interesting that it wasn't mentioned for Xbox, just PC and Nintendo Switch. So I don't know if there's something there with PlayStation to where they don't want it, like it was in the contract for it to not go to Xbox because that's the biggest competitor. Like Street Fighter 5, for instance, I think PlayStation helped fund that game somewhat. So it came to PC and PlayStation 4, but it didn't come to Xbox One. So there could be some weird partnership that they have there. But yeah, what's your guys' thoughts on this?
PlayStation hates Xbox.
Yeah.
They just do. They like don't want crossplay with like Rocket League or Minecraft, and they aren't gonna.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like all their press statements, whenever Xbox is mentioned, they don't have anything very good to say. So, the two, it seems like Nintendo is kind of everybody's buddy this console generation. Like,
I feel like now, before they were the poor punching bag, the poor kid they beat up in the school playground, and now they're like, oh, now we kind of want to be friends.
Yeah, like both, like Microsoft especially, kind of, they got it on for Nintendo. They really want to. I think they want to acquire Nintendo, to be completely honest.
Well,
but they really
no.
I don't think it's not going to happen.
The
but
thing is,
I think that's what they want.
They don't look at Nintendo. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is really quick. Before I didn't think they really looked at Nintendo as a competitor, because if someone, like if a third party releases a game before, it either wouldn't even come to the Wii U, or if it did come to the Wii U, nobody would really buy it. That's why a lot of third parties completely cut off third party support. Like games like Zombie U or Rayman Legends were originally Wii U exclusives, and then they ended up coming out on PlayStation because they didn't sell enough to keep their deal in place with Nintendo. And then they just stopped making exclusives, and they stopped releasing third party games entirely on the Wii U. So now with the Nintendo Switch,
everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, before it was, if a game, like obviously there's no Call of Duty game right now on the Switch, but I think Sony and Xbox looked at it as, well, if someone releases a game on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation, everyone's going to buy it on PlayStation. No one's going to really buy it on the Switch. We have more stuff. There's not as many Switches out there, and then no one really buys third-party Nintendo games anyways. But, as we talked about earlier, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, in the short time that it's been out, has already outsold the number of units that were on PlayStation 4. So now, like maybe when this statement was made, or whenever this deal was put in, Sony may have not seen Nintendo as, it's like, oh yeah, Crash Bandicoot, that can release on the Switch. Who's going to buy it? Everybody already owns it on the PlayStation 4. Who wants to buy it anyways? It's in 4K. Why would they be interested? But then with games like Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, where it has all of, like it was already out on PC, on PlayStation, on Xbox, why would someone rebuy it for the Nintendo Switch? Everyone who wants to play it should have already played it. But then it outsells all of the copies that were on PlayStation 4. So now it's the same thing, to whereas before I would have probably said anyone who wants to play Crash Bandicoot would have likely already played it on the PlayStation 4. They had the 4K to where like it plays in 4K, everything's remade, it looks amazing. So why would someone pick like the worse, and I say that in quotes, experience on the Switch to where you're just going to get a standard version of it? But if we look at other third-party games, then if it releases on the Switch, I think it could also, because I think the Switch is perfect for platformers and stuff, which is what Crash Bandicoot is. So, yeah.
Pretty much anything on Switch sells at this point. Like Nintendo could put out, like you could pre-order a bag of dog poop, and then people will buy it because Nintendo has the logo on the bag. Like
Nintendo could make cardboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
And you know what? I would buy it too. That's the thing. I'm guilty of this. Is that I'm gonna go out and buy that Nintendo brand cardboard for $80.
Yeah. Well, it's not the cardboard that you're.
I think it's $70.
Software and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, it's maybe $70 for you, Ashley, but in Canada, everything costs us more money.
I think Canada.
I think the robot set's $80 on Amazon, so I don't think you're far off.
Yeah. No, but seriously, everything is more expensive here. It sucks, but
yeah, and like we talked about this before. Like for the people that are saying like, oh, Nintendo's charging $80 for a box of cardboard, and it's like, well, you're paying like $60 for the game, and then you're paying the $10 for the cardboard. So. And then there's the stickers and markers or whatever else comes with, I don't know, a crayon box.
Yeah.
They also like the strings and the rubber bands and stuff like that too. Like, there's a lot that's gonna be in there. Like you're gonna have to like compartmentalize when you open the container.
It's like when you go and buy like a figure and it's like $50 or $80, and it's like, oh, that's $80 for a piece of plastic, and it's like, well, it is plastic, but it's like
Yeah.
It's so much
That's kind of beside the point. But more like what I'm saying is that like if Nintendo can pretty much release anything, and if they made a Nintoaster, if they made a Nintoaster and it was just a normal toaster,
have you seen
and it had the logo on it, I'd still buy it because it has the Nintendo logo.
Have you seen the NES consoles? Like people, if you watch Cinemassacre or the Angry Video Game Nerd,
seen that.
He has the toaster.
It's an actual toaster, and it's a NES.
Yeah, have you seen that?
Yeah,
Ashley,
cool.
Miss Click?
No,
yeah,
it's like a custom-built toaster. You put the cartridge in, and you pull the thing down, and it puts the cartridge in like toast. But it's an NES that's built into a toaster's case.
I'm imagining kids like seeing that, trying to do that at home, and they like ruin their dad's cartridges.
No.
Yeah, it's
don't
on.
Don't try this at home.
You have to look up like probably any of the NES games reviews that's on the Angry Video Game Nerds. It's not on every video.
I'm gonna look it up later.
All right.
I'm actually interested in this.
This is yeah, like this kind of just brings me to the really quickly before we move on to the next news story. Do you think there is a place for this game on the Nintendo Switch? Because if we look at the PlayStation...
Yes.
All right, so if we look at the PlayStation 4, which this game was the exclusive for a while, apparently it looks like it was a timed exclusive, similar to when Rise of the Tomb Raider released on the Xbox One. It was only on the Xbox One. A year later, they released the PC, PS4 version. This seems to be like maybe Sony funded or halfway funded this game. That way they could have the timed exclusive for it. But, like, if you look at in the world of platformers, we have Super Mario Odyssey, we have the ukulele, we have all of these. Well, not all of these, because I guess there's not a lot, but there's really great platformers. There's 2D platformers, there's retro-inspired platformers, there are the new amazing 3D platformers like Mario Odyssey. This game, it is a 3D platformer, but the way that the camera angle is, it's like you're on a trail running.
Yep.
It's not like you can't run off and go in any direction you want. So do you think there is, alongside ukulele and Mario, do you think there's a place for this game to exist to where people would be interested, or do you think people would be expecting to like go in any directions? Like I guess Spyro would be an example of like the early PlayStation
I think Crash,
platformers.
like, its game design conveys well enough like how the mechanics work and what the level design is. Like as soon as you go into it, you're not going to be like, well, why can't I go over there? Like you see that there's the path. It's very limited, and it's very clear in its design what to expect from it. But I think just Crash's art style and the sort of wacky style of his character, I think he fits right in with Nintendo's roster.
This was
May I say something?
Yeah, sorry, Ashley. What were you going to say?
Ashley, just talk over Jesse. That's what I do every time.
Being rude. Well, look at Samus Returns. Like, that was a 2D kind of platformer, right? And I think it's still sold well, even though that it's going against, like, you know, Mario Odyssey and the Switch on the 3DS. I mean, Samus Returns shows that people are still interested in platformers, like even up against games like Horizon Zero Dawn or Call of Duty. I don't know what the subtitle is. And I think that Crash Bandicoot does have a place on the Switch. It'll look different than Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2, but I think that variety is important. I think that having more difference will help the Switch in its longevity.
Yeah.
Right. And but I don't know if Samus Returns is the... Like, there are examples of that. I don't know if Samus Returns is the best example. Yeah. Because it's very much a return to form of, like...
Yeah. It was just the one that I came to mind.
Yeah. No, but there are other examples that, do show, like, the platforming genre is not as dead as maybe some thought. Yeah.
I think it's really cool because before my first console ever was a GameCube, but my friends around me all had one had Nintendo 64, the other had a PlayStation, and my other friend had a PlayStation 2. So I loved playing Donkey Kong Country.
Oh yeah.
Hi, Jesse. Donkey Kong Country was absolutely amazing. I loved it. You know, being it's Donkey Kong. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. I also loved Spyro. So if we get Spyro here in the future, I'd be very happy with that. But yes, where is mine back there still? Yeah, I have my silver one that one of my friends gave me more recently, but my original was purple. But gosh, so underrated. Love that console.
I had a purple GameCube too.
Yeah, I
that
have
was the way to go.
Yeah, that one and the platinum one. My sister is a black one, but no, like to see these two come together, like Crash Bandicoot. I was very into at my friend Ricky's house, and he also had Crash Bandicoot Team Racing. And so both of those games were just so much fun, and kids had so much fun with them too, and then people growing up with them as well. So I think it's kind of cool to bring, for me personally, the two worlds together because, like I said, like it was something I had just grown up on. But like you said, he's an exuberant character. He's very, just silly and wacky and kind of crazy, and the characters, like it's a lighthearted game. So I think it's going to do very well on Nintendo. I don't think you have to worry about it, but I'm kind of glad that they're bringing it on and they're kind of like breaking down the barriers, because I would just love it if we didn't have console wars, if we didn't have this is better than that, or it's just Sony always wins, as Ultra likes to say. But
me too, girl, me too.
I'm glad that this is like a step in the right direction, because like it's like why
everyone wins.
And let's keep in mind as well, if we can have Sonic on like he's pretty much a Nintendo mainstay now. Like there's no like if people see Sonic games come out on Nintendo and they don't think twice of it, but back in the day, back in my day, Sonic and Mario were, that was unheard of when like Sonic Adventure like came out on Nintendo. Like that was insane. Like that was a huge thing, and because people were like, that's Sega exclusive. Sega and Nintendo are rivals. Sonic and Mario are like, this is impossible, but it happened. It worked well. It's probably the only reason Sonic, like Sega going third party, it's the only thing that kept them afloat.
The sad thing is the games that Sonic
still
is
struggling.
In. No, like the games that Sonic and Mario are both in are the Sonic games that have sold the most.
Which is sad.
Yeah, it's just incredibly sad.
Yeah.
Sonic Mania, that was like originally created by a fan, did better than Twists.
Yeah.
Like
which is kind of funny, but
like Mario and.
But I do like that approach that Sega just was like, these fans are making Sonic games, they're doing really good. Let's give them a job at Sega, and they can work on the next Sonic game. And then they came out with Sonic Mania, and it was awesome. Yeah. And then you see things like AM2R get shut down by Nintendo, and I'm like, oh well, you guys, like, there's an opportunity here.
Bring them in.
Like, like these are the developers of tomorrow, right? And these are very passionate developers. Like this guy spent a decade on this.
You see people like my buddy CryZenX, who does the Unreal Engine. With
that guy.
Oh, dude, he's in my streams all the time. Such a sweetheart. Him and Mehdi are like two of the coolest people. But just like people that have this capability, and they're talking about wanting to bring in new developers, talking about wanting to bring people into leadership and kind of develop the future of Nintendo. While I think they should keep their charm and their magic of being different and always being innovative, they would really develop well and like I kind of ensure their future by bringing in people who are tech savvy and bringing in people who really know kind of where the up and coming flow is going with games. Like if you want to show the potential of it, we've had people that are pretty much proving on the outside. We all saw like the demo of Twilight Princess, we all thought it was gonna happen, and then it never did. So it's like, well, you're showing us what it could do. Like, are you gonna capitalize on that? And when you see other people doing it, it's kind of like, don't be like don't be Sega. Don't, shut those people down, completely. Like, bring them into your team. Like, it would be so cool to see that. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you even see with the younger generation of developers, the whole reason things like Splatoon and ARMS happened, and a lot of the design behind Breath of the Wild was as well, like people who weren't on the Zelda team coming in and working on it.
Yeah, like Monolith Soft worked, I think, on Zelda.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so my original point though was that if we can have Sonic on Nintendo, then why not have Crash? Because it's good to mix up your roster of what's considered Nintendo characters, right?
Yeah, everyone needs love.
Oh my gosh, if Mario, Sonic, and Crash were in a game together, I would cry.
Everyone would explode.
I'd be like...
Oh.
Okay.
I can see the old commercials being mashed up on YouTube now.
You've seen them in their own games. Now, 2023 coming. No more exclusives. Coming to all consoles and Steam. And like an
Steam.
Adventure Shine.
Cross your
Adventure
fingers for Smash Brothers.
Oh gosh. So
Oh
what do
yeah,
you-
Crash Bandicoot could get into
you-
the next
Oh.
Smash.
do
He
you
would
think
really fit in
it's
Smash.
Jesse?
Yes.
Do you think it's gonna be a new game, or do you think it's gonna be a port?
I think there's been enough time passed to where they could have made a new game. I said this on the last podcast we were talking about it. The reason that a lot of people think Smash Brothers for the Wii U took so long to come out was because in the same Nintendo Direct that they announced, hey, we're going to work on Smash Brothers, they also announced we're going to be working on Kid Icarus, and it was the same team. And he said that as soon as they finished Kid Icarus Uprising, or whatever it was called for the 3DS, they were going to begin working on Smash Brothers.
Which is why there's a lot of Kid Icarus references in Smash 4. It wasn't just because Masahiro Sakurai did both games. It was the same team working on the two games.
Yeah.
Right.
So we don't know exactly when Kid Icarus finished development, and we don't know like if they took a week of a break, if they took like a month or however long. And then whenever they worked on Smash Brothers, they worked on the Wii U version and the 3DS version alongside each other, one being far more powerful than the other. So you basically had to make two different versions of the same game that both work together. Like you can use the 3DS to play Smash Brothers
As a
on
controller,
the Wii.
right? Yeah.
So they had to make two completely opposite versions that actually worked together, similar to what we've seen, I guess, with Hyrule Warriors. But they had to make that. But with the Switch, they only have to focus on one version, and it's going to be people that are familiar with already making Smash Brothers. So I think there's been enough time passed that it could be Smash 5 or whatever. So yeah, like personally, I think if it would have come out sometime this year, earlier, whenever the Switch, like during the launch window, a port would have made sense. But now there's been enough time that's like, if we get a port, then it really will just seem kind of lazy, because enough time, again, like enough time's passed to where we could have gotten a new one. But really quickly, going around everyone's thoughts on possible Crash Bandicoot on Switch. Another thing to add in is Crash Bandicoot is a $40 game, I believe. The Insane Trilogy. It wasn't full priced.
Oh, okay.
So I think they did something similar with the Ratchet and Clank remake. They released it at $40. It was a big remake as well. So going around, everyone, yes, no, or would you buy it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and I would buy it.
All right. Well, Ashley,
Oh,
Kingdom Hearts, take us
Take us
this
away.
news story.
Okay, so for those who are apparently out of the loop, last night, D23 2018 Japan came out with two, actually not just one, two Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers. Where the first one was kind of like a more Kingdom Hearts trailer, with the second one just being a look on like, oh, Kingdom Hearts 3's coming, here's a teensy bit of footage, and here's some lines to get theorists running around and yelling about stuff. But still, also we got confirmation that a release date, like an official day, it's not just 2018, there's going to be an actual release day coming out this year's E3. So
She's excited.
Yeah.
In case you guys couldn't tell.
If you couldn't tell by my
In case you couldn't
voice.
tell.
And I completely glossed over this, but Monsters, Inc. has been confirmed to be a world in Kingdom Hearts 3, which I am insanely proud of, because I called this before all of the Kingdom Hearts 3 leaks happened where Monsters, Inc. was shown off. I called it in a discussion that I had with another Kingdom Hearts YouTuber. I said, wouldn't it be great if Monsters, Inc. was a world for maybe a later game? But nope, they're doing it now. So what do you guys think of this? Are you guys more hyped than ever about Kingdom Hearts 3? And also, do you think that they may announce a Switch port of Kingdom Hearts 3 along with the release date at E3.
So whenever they first showed off Kingdom Hearts, I believe they mentioned that it was going to be coming to. I could be wrong about this. Everyone, just leave your hate in the comments. But did they announce that there was going to be like PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 when they first showed off footage for it? Or was it PlayStation 4?
I couldn't tell you.
That was back in 2013. 2013, they first revealed footage for Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's wildly different than it was back then.
Yeah, so my thought is if they were working on it for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, then the version that the Switch could get would be a bit better. Like, it would again be that middle phase to where it's better than PS3 version and it's better than PS4. So if at any point they had the game to where it was working on the older consoles, then obviously it could run on the Switch. Even with the newer version, we've seen games that aren't even on the old generation of consoles, they're only on the new generation PlayStation 4, like Doom, that has been brought over to the Nintendo Switch, which is a far like less version. It's not running in like full HD at 60 frames per second. It's equivalent to what the low settings on a PC at 720p would be. So if the PlayStation 4 would be able to run, or the Xbox One be able to run Kingdom Hearts 3 at 1080p and 60 frames, then I think there's no doubt that a Switch would be able to run it at just 720p and 30 frames per second. There's been a lot of Nintendo handheld games Nintendo handheld consoles, has seen a lot of the Kingdom Hearts games. So there's like
the GBA and DS got Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah, so there's games there that are on Nintendo consoles. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not like it's never happened before. So there is that possibility that...
Yeah, it's not completely left field.
Yeah, so it's something we've seen before. It's something that we may see again. I hope it is. I would still probably buy it on PlayStation 4 just so I get the better experience while playing it. But like, there's a lot of people that would primarily buy it on the Nintendo Switch just so they could have it portable. And then like, we don't know how intense...
Oh, Misclick disconnected.
Yeah. Oh, she gone.
Alright, but yeah, before she comes
she's just
back,
had enough of listening to Jesse.
What are your thoughts on this, Daniel? Are you a big Kingdom Hearts fan? I'll be back in a second as well. I'm gonna drop in.
Okay, bye, Jesse. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I've never played Kingdom Hearts, not a single dang one, and I know that like the issue is that like I don't know where to start. Like I guess I could start at number 1, but the trying to understand the game, it's trying to understand the story of it, like because I haven't been following for so many years.
Oh yeah.
It just boggles my mind.
Someone told me a while ago that essentially. Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting, but. No. Someone described Kingdom Hearts 3 to me as the Avengers Infinity War of Kingdom Hearts games, where you got to be really up to date about where the series has been if you're going to understand anything. It's like, Infinity War is that you can't just come in and expect to know everything. Like, they've specifically constructed it to where you have to understand everything that's going on, or otherwise you're going to be completely lost.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from. I've never played the games, but I know the story moderately well. I'm still rusty in a few areas, but I know where you're coming from.
I mean, I know like people who are Kingdom Hearts fans are like really big Kingdom. Like I don't think I know anybody who's played Kingdom Hearts that isn't like really into it.
Yeah, the fan base is as passionate as Zelda.
HMK.
Yeah, so it's a little. I want to say it's intense. Not to say that's a bad thing again, because I'm a Zelda fan, so obviously intense fan bases don't scare me off. But so I've never really had much opportunity. I've always been most of my consoles that I've owned have been Nintendo primarily. I had a 360, I had a PlayStation, but I've had every Nintendo console as well. But I have gaps in the others. So I don't know a lot about Kingdom Hearts. So that's But if it did come to Switch, like I probably would try and get into it, just because like it's not something I'm like adamantly against. I just never got into it. So
all right, so we have an update from Miss Click. She said she's booting up. So whether it was her laptop or PC, I guess it shut off.
Crashed.
Yeah.
Oops.
So she should.
Yeah.
But as for like the 3DS or DS games, we see that a lot with things that are exclusive to other consoles that end up coming onto Nintendo's handhelds, because there's no real competition on the handheld market. Nintendo kind of like there was like the PS Vita or whatnot, but I know Microsoft has pretty much no interest in the handheld market. But Nintendo dominates that handheld market like by a very large margin. And so because there's not really competition, I guess the competitors for the home console market don't mind their games coming to Nintendo's handhelds. Another example is like oh my goodness, Banjo-Kazooie games. After Microsoft acquired them, they still... Oh, she's back!
I hope that's sarcastic. I hope that's sarcastic applause from the husband in the next room that hit the modem.
Yeah, so even though Banjo-Kazooie was acquired by Microsoft, we still got the handheld Banjo-Kazooie games because there was no handheld competition. Nintendo owns that market. So the fact that Kingdom Hearts games have come to Nintendo's handhelds, I wouldn't necessarily take as a huge indicator that it would come to Nintendo's home console, but then again, Switch is kind of also, this is on this line where it's both their home console and their handheld. So really, who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. So Miss Click, what do you think about this? Do you think that Kingdom Hearts 3 has a chance on the Switch? And also, a new question, do you think that a official release date for Kingdom Hearts 3 is finally getting this game back on track? Because for a very long time, this game has been very deeply in development and not having a lot of hype. Do you think that this is finally going to get it on that hype train finally?
I think it's going to have a hype all on its own. I think Kingdom Hearts has had a very special following. I had a lot of close friends of mine who absolutely loved Kingdom Hearts. In strong correlation, they absolutely just are obsessed with Disney in general. But I don't think necessarily I wouldn't hold out for it to be on Switch. I would be really surprised, mainly because I feel like that's like their best combative against Zelda and Mario, to be honest. Like, I honestly feel like a lot of people, if you're talking about, do you play Zelda or do you play Mario? They're like, no, but I play Kingdom Hearts. Like, that was my series growing up. So, I mean, if they're going to still, like, how many companies are, if they're still going to be competitive, I don't think they will put it on Switch. In a perfect world, I think it would be awesome, to bring the two together. But as far as for like the development and the hype, I know people have been waiting for a long time, for this, and hearing stories of it and then not really seeing much.
It's been in development for over 5 years now.
Like, to be honest, I don't want to say it's irresponsible, because I know good games, a lot of times will take a lot of time. Like with Breath of the Wild, like we saw, like a little bit and then a little bit more. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, this is happening, So Zelda games, it's like you expect it to come out like every 5 years. Like that's how you pretty much expect a Zelda game, maybe with a smaller release, like Link Between Worlds or something in between. But I mean, I think that now this has been announced, like my feed, like it's trending on Twitter. My feed was blowing up with people who were excited about it. So I think it will drive it. I don't think it'll necessarily be as... I don't think it'll be as big as Breath of the Wild was, in my opinion. But I think it's going to be very, I think just mainly because like the Switch was also coming out is more my take on it, is you had two new things at once. You had a brand new system you've never touched before. To get to experience the console and the game at the same time, I think that was a really driving sale. So it's not that Kingdom Hearts isn't a good game. I'm just saying it's not... Like it's not having a new console coming out with it. So I think that the hype though is going to be well deserved.
It's still going to have a very good hype train.
Yeah,
it's just that
people are going to be.
I think it will come close to Breath of the Wild levels of hype, but not topping it. Despite me being absolutely like about it, I agree with you. I do think that Breath of the Wild will have the edge when it comes to the hype train. But hey, Kingdom Hearts 3 is finally going to be coming out soon. We should all be celebrating and be happy and brandishing our keyblades if we have any. So, final thoughts on all of it. What do you guys think? Do you all think that Kingdom Hearts 3 is looking good so far? Like, they're on a good track recently with adding Pixar to their roster of Kingdom Hearts worlds. Now we have Toy Story and Monsters Inc. and who knows what else is on the horizon. And do you guys think that this is a sign that Kingdom Hearts is finally getting back up off of its dormant shoes?
I think that's what they need, in my personal opinion. I think that's what they need. They've been gone for so long. So many things have come out. You've also had Frozen. You've had Moana. Like, you've got a lot of Disney stuff you got to catch up on. So, to be honest, I feel like that is a revisit. When did Monsters, Inc. first come out? Like, the first one? Was it the first one?
2001.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, like, I think the more they put in there, probably the better. Either way, it's looking super cute. I mean, that's just how I describe Kingdom Hearts as cute.
When the first two Kingdom Hearts came out, there was like no real DLC at that era, like it was the PS2. But now it's like they could release the entire game, and then they could follow up with DLC, especially
with like a final mix version.
Yeah, I would say like the closest comparison would be, I guess this isn't even really a comparison, but Square Enix, they've taken forever to make Kingdom Hearts 3. They also took forever to make Final Fantasy 15. After so long in development for Final Fantasy 15, they are still working on it, releasing DLC. Even it had VR support where you could like do VR fishing and stuff. So it'd be really cool if they did something like that, to where they released, after the game comes out, maybe 3 months, 6 months later, it's like, hey, we enjoyed working on this game so much that after we released it, we continued working on ideas that we had. So even if there are worlds that aren't in the initial release, it would be cool to see them come to fruition within DLC. So I think that would be really cool for them to kind of take on, because I don't think we've ever really seen a Kingdom Hearts game with DLC, which we've never seen Zelda with DLC either until this most recent one. So I hope that there's stuff there to where it's like people that want a specific thing, if it's not in the game, then maybe they choose to buy it. Yeah, maybe they have hope to look forward to whatever the new world may be within DLC.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that covers everything. I mean, I probably, oh my gosh, my throat is sore from freaking out so much, so I should probably stop.
Yeah, passionate Kingdom Hearts fan.
Yeah, so I think that maybe we should move on to the viewer questions now.
Yeah. Well, actually, since we are through, we usually start off with the interview, but we skipped it. So we can do a brief interview. We'll start with Miss Click. That way you have a little bit of time to let your throat rest. We don't have to spend too much time on this.
I'm going to go get myself something to drink.
All right.
Help that.
Sure.
I'll be right back, chat.
All right. Well, what's up, everybody? I am Jesse. Daniel here with me. Ashley just left to go get some drink. And we have the awesome Miss Click to keep us company. So, Miss Click, why should people care about you? Why are you on here? Who are you? What did you do with our milkshakes? Who the hell is
Miss Click?
Just listen.
Yes.
If you want...
What?
You said milkshakes.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I was just like, wait, what is happening? I was like, why did... I thought you guys had a moment. I was just going to let it happen. We all had a moment.
We can have a moment.
What moment did we have?
We just had one. I don't know.
A milkshake moment.
Listen.
This podcast has just been a Gong show.
It's the best one. Okay, but hey.
10 out of 10. Best content. Quality podcast.
That was something I was saying to people earlier. Is like, because they're like, oh, well, why don't you release like more scripted videos instead of the podcast? And I'm like, I could just work on like theory videos or top 10s, and theoretically I would make a lot more money because the podcast videos don't get nearly as many views as the scripted videos, but the podcast is so fun, I would rather do something that I enjoy than do something to where I make a bit more money. So this is why I love the podcast, when you have these fun conversations.
It's not about the money. It's not about the money.
Yes. So we usually title these interviews, I like to call them like Who the Hell is Miss Click, or the last one was
we can restart.
The one that we had with Holly, like Who the Hell is Holly Wolf? Who the hell is
Fake Gamer Girl?
I put that there specifically for the people in the comments. But with you, who is Miss Click?
Hey guys, so Miss Click is me. Why should you watch me? I mean, I don't think there's really a good reason to sell yourself really ever, other than the fact that I am very passionate about video games. I'm very passionate about my community and the awesome people that you're able to meet and to bond with. It's always a super fun time, and we have people in chat right now that I just love seeing their names and getting to know them on a daily basis when we stream. But I also embarrass myself a lot, obviously. Most of the time it is not intentional, and I think that's part of the charm, I guess, so my viewers say. But I mean, we're literally discovering and reacting to things all at the same time, and it's an absolute blast. And getting to upload to YouTube for now things that you won't necessarily get to see live is also something very special too. So I've been very honored to have the community grow the amount that has been growing, which is pretty well.
Z in the chat says we should watch you because of Taco.
Taco?
My cat.
Oh.
My cat.
Oh. That makes sense. I do love cats.
Good morning. Oh, scared him every single time. Yeah, he's my
Wait,
my
show your
friend.
ceiling again. There's lights up there.
Oh yeah, I have LED lights.
Ooh, actually that's
Whoa.
neat. That's some real Tron business.
You ready for this? All right, seizure warning.
Your room is... Whoa!
Okay, that's it. That's
actually, put it on the blue, and your room's basically a shrine from Breath of the Wild.
I know. I literally love it so much. I love it so much.
Gus in the chat says, "Do you have one named Burrito?"
No, that's such a good idea, though.
Get a little corgi and name it Burrito, and then you've got your.
All right. So when
Ashley... they already look like burritos.
When Ashley gets back, we'll talk to her about her channel. But for you, Miss Click, what?
Oh no, I'm right here.
Oh, okay. When did you start your YouTube channel, Miss Click? Why did you think everyone just wanted to watch you?
I actually, to be honest, I didn't think people would want to watch me. I was doing Twitch, so we were streaming a lot of just other games other than Zelda. For like, we were streaming Overwatch, and then we had a few other like PC games because I was, focused on building a PC. And then when Breath of the Wild really, like, they had Nintendo Direct, like, while I was streaming Overwatch, and everybody from my chat was like, "We know you mentioned Zelda. Did you see the new trailer? Like, they're coming in after seeing the Direct." And like, "Did you see it? Did you watch it?" And I was like, "No, I'm streaming. Like, I can't really watch a Direct right now." And they're like, "Yo, you need to watch it." So I was like, "Okay, well, if there's a trailer, I like want to end stream right now, but I won't. So I'll go home. After I'm done, I'm gonna go eat dinner, and then I'll sit down and I'm gonna watch the trailer and I'll film my reaction, and then I'll post it on YouTube for you guys to see and for my sisters to see, because we have a special bond over Zelda. And when I filmed it, I uploaded it, I tagged it, titled it, put a thumbnail and everything, just so they, it looked nicer. I gave it to everybody else, and they're like, "Oh yeah, a couple thousand people have already seen this, and it's been uploaded how many minutes ago?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what? You said 1,000? I have like 19 subscribers on YouTube right now. Like, what is this?" And then like I had to go to work the next day, and it was just like more and more people kept watching it, and more people kept subscribing to my channel, and people are like, "Can't wait for more content, like, welcome to YouTube." And I'm like, "I wasn't ready, like, what am I doing?" And then it was like, I just made so many more friends. Like, the community just grew in like a totally different realm, which is really like my childhood realm. I'm so passionate about Zelda. And so it was so amazing that literally people were wanting to be friends and like follow my channel because of something that I always thought I was alone in. And then you come to the internet and then literally you see how many other people love the same things you do. And like that was so freaking cool. So like having it, you know, grow at the rate it has, I wasn't ready. Like I wasn't ready for the YouTube part at all. And like streaming to Twitch for YouTube, like the time that we did, it was such a blessing. And now we'll be doing live streams just to Twitch as we aim for partnership, which was originally my goal. And now we're doing more of just uploads to YouTube. And I'm so excited because we're going to be venturing to cosplay soon as well. Now that I have time and just we're working on, you know, the next goals for that. So I'm so stoked for that. But like, to be honest, I didn't think anybody would really want to watch me. It's been a really nice surprise.
Yeah, it was very similar to how Holly Wolf was introduced into the Zelda community, because I think I came across you because of Cece, maybe? Cece Gaming?
Yes.
So with Holly, she was commenting in a bunch of my videos, and then every time she would comment, there would be a lot of people. It's like, oh, you're a fan of Game Over Jesse as well. And I was like, why is everybody responding to this person's? So I went to her channel, and then one of her most popular videos was her Breath of the Wild reaction. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool that both of you were able to kind of get like a launch into the Zelda community because of your
now
live
we're
reactions.
Friends too. Yeah, it's so cool.
Now Daniel needs to put up his late reaction to Breath of the Wild.
I guess so.
And be brought
it's
in.
like,
did you
it'd be so late.
Yeah, did you have a reaction video to the Breath of the Wild trailer, Ashley?
No, I didn't do reaction videos because I thought that I wouldn't be a very good reactor, or maybe it wouldn't be good for my channel, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a very, you know, because reaction videos is out of nowhere, you know. But I still do reaction videos, like I did Metroid Prime 4 reaction with my buddy Ed, and look how that turned out. My voice sounded robotic, so I'm still considering whether or not to do reactions.
I don't really do reaction. Yeah, same as Daniel, I don't.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like, well, just in case people were wondering what that reaction video would look like, when I was watching the, let's say the Nintendo Switch event a year ago, last January, we had that trailer that came at the very end. A little surprise trailer. I was expecting it, but this is me the whole time. So this would be the whole reaction video. It's just me. Like for a minute.
That's how I always felt. Yeah.
This is my eyes like wide.
Well, I feel like it's weird because you have like different types of people who react. So you have like HMK, who's literally like, you're afraid he's gonna punch a hole in the wall.
The dude, he's the king of hype for a reason. Like that dude reacts.
And then you have some people who you can tell like they've probably already seen the trailer and then they're reacting to it already, like again, and you're kind of like, okay, you already, you know. And then like, to be honest, like I never really saw an importance in reaction videos, and that's why I said like I would just upload it and then just give it to these specific people, my Twitch community and my sisters. But I didn't think everybody else was, you know, gonna see it. And so when people were like, you know, thank you for your reaction, I was like, wow, and people are saying, thank you, you're reacting the same way as me. You never know, Daniel. Like maybe some people are like, I was the exact same way. Like I didn't scream and yell, but I also didn't cry. I was just like,
okay, well, I did almost cry at the end of that trailer. Like honestly, the same with the first trailer. Like those brought out some stuff in me, but like, I don't know. I'm not a vibrant
reactor. What really did it for me. The way that they incorporated that Zelda theme.
One of the best trailers.
Oh yeah.
One of the best trailers ever.
I'll tell you, Commonwealth Realm had a really good reaction video, but mostly because there's one part where, in the first trailer, he pushes the rocks over the cliff and it kills the bokoblins underneath, and he just goes, "Fucking rocks!" And he's just like so excited, and just.
And this was Conrad or Joey?
Yeah, Conrad, and he just got so excited, and he swears, but he just is like effing rocks, and just.
Yeah, because
nothing is better than that.
Like in Ocarina of Time, you could pick the rocks up and throw them.
Throw it over.
Yeah,
that's it.
But that was just genuine excitement. Like he was so hyped that just like rocks got him excited and jumping. So I couldn't match that.
All right, well, Miss Click, you're now old news, but where can people find you before we move on to the new?
So rough.
ChampionAshley.
I would just honestly point everyone to misclickgaming.com. That's the easiest way. You can find my Patreon, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, everything's on there. Just misclickgaming.com. It's short, sweet, and simple.
And Patreon? Patreon?
Yeah, there is Patreon. There is Patreon there. So if you would like to be part of my cosplay journey, check it out there.
And moving on.
I gotta ask before we move on. I'm gonna talk over you again, Jesse.
Again.
Everyone talks over everyone. That's the fun of the podcast.
That's the fun.
It's not scripted.
I mean, there was a video about this before on the channel where you interviewed Miss Click, but I wasn't there, so I never watched that video. But I gotta ask, the name Miss Click. I'm always curious about where people's usernames come from. Like Jesse's Game Over Jesse was sort of as something of a tribute to Game Over Gregory. Bergerson for me kind of just came from someone actually just screwing up my real name, and I thought it was hilarious. Miss Click, what is the origin of the name Miss Click?
The username actually didn't exist, at least for me, for a while. It was pretty recently that I had come up with it. I wanted a really just super. I was part of a gaming clan before I started streaming, and before I got married and everything. I was part of a gaming clan, and they were like, okay, well, we need you in the forums. Can you sign up and make a username? And I wanted Sheikah Pirate Princess Bounty Hunter or something like that, to put them all together. And it was too long for the forums. There was too many characters. So they're like, all right, we just do something short, sweet, and simple. And I'm picky. I couldn't decide something. And one of my good friends I always gamed with, he would always scream, no, that was a misclick. Every time he'd mess up, and we just started laughing. So the one time I copied him and I was like, no, that was a misclick. He's like, ha, you're a misclick. Get it? Because you're a miss and a click. And I was instantly, I was like, that's good. I really like that.
It's a pun. That makes me love it even more.
The spelling of the misclick, yeah, because so that's where it came from.
I like that story.
All right, and we'll start off with the same question for you, Champion Ashley. Where did your name come from?
The origin. I can guess the second part of Champion Ashley.
I've always loved the name Ashley, which is different from my real name. I just thought Ashley is a cool name. No, my actual name isn't Ashley, but I just started, hey, I'm going to call myself Ashley. So
this is a plot twist?
The actual origin of my name, Champion Ashley, comes from an inspiration. See, if you couldn't tell, I love Pokemon. I am a gigantic Pokemon fangirl. I've loved Pokemon since I was little. And one day I was going through a YouTuber's comment section. I can't remember who it was, but there was this user named Champion Rosa, pronunciations. And I thought, you know what? Champion Ashley. And what is the thing that you always do at the end of the Pokemon game? Become the champion. And I thought, Champion Ashley, the title of a Pokemon champion. Contrary to popular belief, I did not make my name from the champions of Breath of the Wild. Contrary to popular belief, I made that name almost 4 years before Breath of the Wild even came out. So I actually didn't make my name out of the champions, but hey, I ran with it, which is why my channel has kind of a champion motif on it. So that's the origin of my name.
Nice.
All right, and what kind of content could people find on your channel?
Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I do mostly Nintendo stuff, but I also do occasionally some random discussion videos, and I also do Kingdom Hearts stuff. I'm trying to do as much Kingdom Hearts as I can, but since there's already a buttload of Kingdom Hearts YouTubers out there, that the amount of topics that I can do is kind of short right now. So when I can, I try to get out a Kingdom Hearts video, but right now I'm still sticking with mainly Nintendo.
Good enough to me.
Yeah. So what originally inspired you to make your YouTube videos?
That's also a very funny story. See, I said that I'm a Pokemon fan. My first Pokemon game ever was Pokemon Platinum, and I was a very stupid Pokemon gamer, and I thought that you only needed to use your starter Pokemon, and only your starter Pokemon. So I picked Chimchar, since I love fire types, and so I went through the entire game, all the way up to the Elite Four, with just Chimchar, who is now an Infernape, and I couldn't get past Bertha, the ground type Elite Four Sinnoh member. And so I basically went to the internet to maybe find some help, which is a bit stupid because I should have caught more Pokemon instead of using my one starter. And I stumbled across this guy called Purple Rodri, who did Pokemon Platinum Let's Play. And I couldn't stop watching it. It was so awesome that I loved watching him play through Pokemon games. And I decided to, maybe one day when I'm old enough, I'll make my own YouTube channel. And actually, and then over the years, I started changing my gaming taste over to a little game called Minecraft. And actually, if you guys didn't know, back in the day, when in the very early stages of my channel, I made Minecraft videos. I still have one Minecraft video, and it's of me and another girl playing a Minecraft minigame. It's probably still up there. You probably can go look at it. But I started out with Minecraft videos, but then I met Andy McIntyre Productions. I just commented on one of his videos, and he commented back, and we became best friends after that. And I talked to him regularly over Skype, and he said, you should maybe change your channel over to, Nintendo stuff. And I did it, and I ran with it. Actually, Andy was the way that I met you, Jesse. He introduced me to you, and my life has pretty much never been the same since.
Yeah, I ruined it.
I ruined it. You've practically saved my channel. Like, I would have never gotten to over 200 subscribers if it hadn't been for you and your influence. So really, I have you to thank for saving my YouTube career.
Well, thank you for that. That's something, I've mentioned this a couple of times before, but that's something that I always try to do, because there's a lot of people who, I do this on my Discord server as well. Actually, Daniel and I, we literally just had a contest to try to help other people out. But whenever we mentioned Sasizi earlier, and then there's also RMFH and who knows how many other people actually. But there's whenever I started passing like 10,000 subscribers or 20,000 subscribers, I would remember back to when, in the same way that Andy talked to you to help you out on your channel when you first started, Andy, HMK, and everyone, when I first started my channel, they would talk to me and give me advice, and then we all ended up starting that group, the Chamber of Sages. But I remembered how they didn't necessarily reach out to me first and like give a helping hand, but it was after I started my YouTube channel that they started giving advice and stuff. And so I looked at it as, I don't really know how to describe it, but I would basically go to YouTube, type in Zelda Theory, and purposefully look for channels that maybe only had like 10 subscribers or 100 subscribers, and then the videos they were posting only had like 10 views or 100 views. And I would look at those Zelda theories, and if there were some that I thought were good, then I always thought that just because a channel, like a video's not getting as many views or they don't have as many subscribers doesn't mean that the stuff they're doing isn't good. It's just no one's giving them a chance. Yeah. So that's when I reached out to RMFH and Sasizi and a few other people, and now RMFH has over 20-something thousand subscribers, and Sasizi has her own huge community, and she has her Twitch community and everything, and like, it's not because of me, it's because of the stuff that they made. But I feel that someone reaching out that is a bigger channel being like, hey, you can come on videos, and some of my subscribers will come over to you and it'll help you out, you'll grow your own fan base. And I think that's really helpful. Like the competition that Daniel and I did, we literally posted in the announcements like, hey, everyone who is interested in being on YouTube or has their own YouTube channel already. If you want to be in a video with us, just record an example of voiceover, and Daniel and I will go through and pick a couple of people, and we pick 2 people.
Some really good submissions too.
Like they had their own YouTube channels, but neither of them have like more than a few hundred subscribers, so it's nice to kind of give back, I guess, is a way
That's
to
really
say
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
So.
I think
and even my own channel too.
Oh, sorry, Daniel.
Oh no, go ahead.
God,
Ashley.
Interruptions galore.
I always
anyway,
talk at the same time
that,
as people.
I also think that the theory that really caught your eye was my Breath of the Wild as a Twilight Princess sequel theory video. That was my first really good Zelda theory that I think launched the channel, and I think you saw potential in me and you took me on as your apprentice after that video, even though it's horrible to watch now. I did it in Movie Maker back then, and I had like a stage mic to record with back then, and I was very nervous. So, but it is still fun to watch every now and again, just to see how far I've come since from the basement to running out with the big dogs, you know?
Yeah. So that's basically like why I do it, is that like there's a lot of people that watch a YouTube channel, and then there's some people that I'll reply to in YouTube, and I guess I may have been like this a long time ago, but it's like you never even think that the person will read your comment, let alone reply. And I never think that I'm someone's favorite YouTube channel, even though people have told me before. But if you think about like the way that people on YouTube are looked at, I don't really like using the term YouTuber for reasons I've explained before, but there's been like you never really think that you're going to have any sort of interaction with people that are like more well known on YouTube or whatever. So whenever they reach out to you, and it's not even you reaching out to them, just like, hey, this guy already has his own following on YouTube, and he came to me like asking me to be in one of his videos and whatever. So it's just stuff like that. People that you never think you're going to have a chance to do something like that, and then suddenly you do. So I like to do that with people. So anyways,
do you have any other questions?
No, I think
other than I heard you have a snappy new intro, Ashley.
Made by a certain somebody in this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, plugging. Yeah. King made my intro and outro.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think this brings us to one of my favorite parts of the podcast, the questions.
Oh yeah.
So everyone in the chat, get your questions ready, and after the questions, the podcast will be over.
Go.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna do a different intro for the podcast, or for the questions, because the mailbag goes up separately. So everyone ready? All right. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as some of you all may know me, and here with me, as always, is Daniel, and then we have good ChampionAshley and the good Miss Click. We had interviews with both of them prior to this with what in the world?
What?
You have a shoulder.
Miss Click.
Oh, jeez!
All right.
It's alive!
Maybe I misspoke. The not so good Miss Click.
She's there, Miss Click.
Yeah. Miss Clicks. Okay, so we are joined.
I just had to have a moment.
Yeah, we have been joined.
There's the meme face.
Daniel.
Someone make a meme of that.
All right. So we've been joined by Daniel, Ashley, and Miss Click's shoulder.
We are all here.
Yes.
And Miss Click's shoulder.
We are here. We had interviews early with all of the guests, and we went over a bunch of news topics that you can click back and watch. But we're all here right now for the mailbag. If you have any questions that you would like to have answered on our next video, please comment them below, and we will get to as many as possible. If you would like a guarantee that your question is answered, you can head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse and leave your question, or join our Discord as a Patreon member, and your question will take priority above many of the others, just as our first question from the one has, he says, Game Over Jesse, King Bergerson, looking at the Zelda timeline, how much time do you think has passed between each game? Now, we can't go through individually and say how much time has passed.
We can only give an estimate.
Yeah, and there's
like on average.
Yeah, and there's so
with
many
a few exceptions.
There's so many different games that if you went through each individual game, we would be here for another hour. So, like between Breath of the Wild and any of the other games,
it's like 10,000 years, or
10,100
years.
And then
10,000 between the first Legend, and then however many before the Legend and the other games.
And then
so
there
could be more
games like Majora's Mask or Phantom Hourglass, to where it's like minutes.
Direct,
or
maybe
the first Zelda game and Zelda 2. I think that's a 7-year gap, where it's like Zelda 1's Child Link, and Zelda 2 he turned 17. And so there's it really depends. Like the Oracle games, they end right at the beginning of Link's Awakening. Then there's like the 10,000-year gap for Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and then
it's all over the place.
Games like Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, there's a few hundred years.
A few hundred years. Same Twilight Princess.
Like there's
no Ocarina of Time.
Even Nintendo's been a bit vague on it. Like there's been interviews where like either Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, or Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess. Like there's interviews where they say there's 100 years that's passed, like just 100. But then there's interviews where they say there's hundreds. So there's never a precise, and I think that's intentional. Nintendo wants to keep it kind of vague. That way there's not an exact time. But like what? I guess a quick way to kind of reword this a bit is what, like if you could go through any of the times, the gaps between the Zelda games, and you could place another Zelda game there to explore what happened in between. What 2 times would you pick? Like, would it be between Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time to see the flood? Would it be between A Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time? Between Skyward Sword, the Minish Cap?
I said in my notes maybe 5,000 to 7,000 years, but even now I think that might be a bit too long. Maybe that might be 2,000 to 3,000 years might be a more realistic estimate, rather than maybe 5,000 or 7,000 years.
Between which games?
Any game, honestly. Like if all of the games like
except for like direct sequels like Majora's Mask, but
all right. So, but if you could go through, Ashley, and just pick 2 games that you could put a game in between, what would it be? Like if it was between Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, or Twilight Princess and Four Swords Adventures, Minish Cap, Skyward Sword, like where would you put a game in between to explore what happened between that time?
Maybe 1,000 years might be a good enough for Ocarina of Time to Wind Waker, I think, because the sages they have like glass pans in Hyrule Castle, and I think that maybe 1,000 years is a good time frame, because 2,000 and onward would probably be a bit too long, where people would pretty much forget that what the sages looked like. So I think that maybe 1,000 years in between Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker would be the optimal time period. Not too long, but also not too short.
Well, I like that makes sense, but I think in interviews and stuff, like Nintendo said that it's been like a few hundred years between. But I was asking, like, if you could pick between 2 games to where you could set your own game to explore what happened between that time, what 2 games would you pick to put a game between? Is what I was asking.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard you.
Oh no, it's fine. I took his question and we kind of reworked it to something else that we could actually discuss. So.
I think Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, we need to know about the Hero Shade. And I think that would be the perfect spot to finally answer that question.
How like how Link became the hero shade, how he died or whatever.
How he lost his eye.
He got lost in the woods.
No.
You don't believe that?
No.
I think you need to watch our video about Zelda theories that we've done before.
No.
Or at least if he did,
personally
not as
go
Child
there.
Link. He may have like way later down the line.
Yeah.
As adult, when he became
Yeah.
an adult, but like definitely not as Child Link.
Yeah.
No, not Child Link. No.
Yeah, well, there's like the theory of like the Link is dead theory. It goes like
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
No. And I know you talk about that with Hollow too.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
so it's like so you seen that video where we talk about
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because it's like everyone believes like Link died in the woods or the Lost Woods as a child, and then proof of that they say is like the game.
Children in the woods become become skull children.
Anybody who gets lost becomes a Stalfos.
Yeah.
Is what the little girl
But
tells
then,
you, and
like,
that just goes to prove that would be Twilight Princess essentially. If you wanted to argue that.
They use the like the 5 stages of grief in Majora's Mask as an example, but then there's interviews with the people, not Al Numa, but the director of Majora, or not the director, like the other person that was in charge of the story. Or it could have been Al Numa, I forget, but they literally said that because when Majora's Mask 3D released, they were asked about that, and he literally said if you play through Majora's Mask with that in your mind, that each area is attributed to just one emotion, then you're playing the game wrong, because each area shows a lot more emotion than just depression or anger or whatever.
Right.
But the other thing is that the skeleton for Link as the hero shade is an adult, and then Link in Twilight Princess, at first it was a rumor, but then Nintendo confirmed it, that Link in Twilight Princess is like the grandson or like the great-great-grandson or whatever of Link from Ocarina of Time. So it's like if Link dies as a child and
he wouldn't have had a chance to live his life.
Then Twilight Princess Link would never exist.
Exactly. So
he
probably grew up, married Malin, whatever her name is, or whoever, and then so that's the theory, like, get out. But anyways, Ashley, you said you would like to see a game set between Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess to see exactly how the Hero of Time comes. Yeah.
So third Hero of Time game.
Yeah, I want a third Hero of Time game too, but I don't want it to take place after Majora's Mask. I would want it to take place between Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past.
Oh, A Link to the Past. Okay.
Yeah, because like Link dies there, but it's like
So you want to retcon that timeline thing and have an alternate ending?
My theory, whenever Zelda Wii U was just known as Zelda Wii U or whatever, and then we only had the first trailer of Breath of the Wild, my theory of where it took place was that the third timeline splits caused by Link dying or whatever. So my thought was, instead of the downfall timeline being Link literally dying and then that causing it, was that before Ganon did the final blow to Link, similar to the final blow that you have to do to Ganondorf, instead of the sages and Zelda using their power to seal Ganondorf or Ganon, which is what happens when you beat Ganon, they use their power on a dying Link to like seal him or like warp him somewhere. And it's all of the power of the sages and Zelda using their combined power to save Link. It was enough to cause the split. So that's what I was thinking, because at that time the only thing we had to go on is the game starts out with Link being revived in the Chamber of Resurrection, and in my head the only time Link canonically died was in Ocarina of Time. So my thought was they did that, took him to, or sent him wherever, sealed him in the Chamber of Resurrection. He's coming back to life. Link wasn't there to stop Ganon. That's why Hyrule's in ruins. Ganon's in the castle, because that's where he was sealed at in Ocarina of Time. Because they couldn't seal him in the Sacred Realm or wherever they ended up. So that was my whole convoluted theory, and it made sense for the time, for what we knew, but now we don't. But I would still like to see something akin to that. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I would like to see a game take place between Skyward Sword and Minish Cap. They talk about the hero of man or something like that.
Yeah.
But
we all thought that would be Breath of the Wild Link.
Yeah, there was theories on that as well, but they never show like who that Link was or any of that. So I would like to see that, because that's the only hero that we've really been told about that wasn't someone that we've played. Like, we've played the Hero of Light, the Hero of Wind, the Hero of Time, the Hero of the Wild, all these different heroes. But then Minish Cap mentions this hero that maybe Capcom intended on following up with a prequel at some point, but then they weren't able to with Nintendo, so they were like kind of setting the stages to do a prequel, but they never got the chance. I don't know. But I think that would be interesting. But with you, Miss Click, where would you like to see a game?
I'm actually, so, not that I necessarily would like to see a game, but I think it'd be cool if perhaps, they say the hero is defeated. That could pertain to Ocarina of Time, but what if they actually set up a game to where maybe you actually play through and you aren't successful? Like, maybe you do everything as a player that you can to defeat Ganon, and you think you've defeated it, and then something in a cutscene happens, and then he's killed. Like, I think that'd be cool. Like, now that you mentioned that, because, you talk about the Fallen Timeline, but I don't know, it's hard for me to believe, mainly because you don't see it in Ocarina of Time, that Link possibly fails, because you're like, well, I literally beat him. And I literally watched this all happen. So I think now that we've mentioned it, I think it would be cool if you actually had a game where it was like, plot twist. Like, I feel like in Skyward Sword there was enough of a scolding when Impa tells you were late. If it wasn't for me, she would have died. How how dare you? You want to see her? You were gonna let her die. Like, that was enough of a spanking, as it was. So I think that would be cool. But to kind of continue on the Skyward Sword thought is, I would, even though we already know what happens, I would love to see like a game before Skyward Sword. I think that'd be really cool. I think it'd be very like, I don't think it would happen since we have like the kind of like the manga or whatever already made about that, and you already have the opening scene of Skyward Sword. But then after Skyward Sword, I would really like to see between from their timeline of between Skyward Sword and Minish Cap, because you have like after the Sky era, you have era of chaos and prosperity, and you hear about all these like the tales before. But I would like to see like Hyrule before it's fully established.
Yeah, you don't get to see Hyrule filled in.
Exactly. Like,
that would be like Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, where you get these questions and there could be a game that could answer them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would just like to see it, because like even Minish Cap, Four Swords, it's like it's not necessarily focusing on Hyrule as a complete kingdom and stuff like that. Yeah, I know you have Zelda and stuff, but I just think it would be really cool to kind of see, I don't know, maybe like, it was really cool with Skyward Sword to see, where the body, of the bird came from, and you found out that bird's called a Loftwing, and how their emblem, not even, like, that was the emblem, and then all of a sudden, like, then it became the Triforce, on top of the Loftwing's body, and I thought that was so cool to see it come into place and get a purpose. And then all of a sudden it's like, now it's got Breath of the Wild, you had to revisit, but every time you see the Master Sword now you think of Fi, because she's there, and though she might not be able to physically talk to you, you know that she is like there. So it was really cool to like have something to go back on and look at. So I think from there it would kind of be like the establishment of Hyrule Castle, or of Hyrule Castle Town, all these different things, like maybe not the exact incarnation we saw in Ocarina of Time, but to still be able to see those things come into fruition, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, you mentioned Fi. Even in Breath of the Wild, there's a mention of like a voice trying to talk to Zelda from the sword.
Yeah, in the sword, yeah. Yeah.
All right. So what about you,
Well,
Daniel?
plus the Master Sword makes that
oh my gosh,
the
I
memories,
started
it
crying.
makes the sound. I was just like,
yeah.
It is.
I started crying. Like, I heard it. It was like my text.
Oh, yeah.
Time on my phone.
I remember when I saw the cutscene and I heard that sound. I'm like, oh,
I instantly cried.
Like, she's back.
I cried on live stream.
Oh,
Everyone's like, don't cry. And I'm like, yeah, you love Fi.
Just Fi pops in and is like, Master, the batteries in your Switch are at 10%.
No!
That would be expectations subversion at its
It's so
finest.
funny. People complain about that, and I was like, but why didn't you just switch the batteries? And they're like, I was too lazy. And I was like, you made it worse than it had to be.
Yeah. But like you said, it's really neat how Skyward Sword as a prequel to sort of everything had an effect on how you view the rest of the games, because like for me, as soon as I played Skyward Sword, I went and played Ocarina of Time over again. And there was sort of a moment then where when you play it and you're going through Hyrule, it's like, okay, it's all fun and good. You get the Hylian shield and you see the red Loftwing, you're like, the only red Loftwing was Link's in Skyward Sword. Like, it's an important symbol now, like that. It was just kind of there before,
right?
But now it has more meaning. And then there's the cutscene in Ocarina of Time when you open the Temple of Time, which was previously the Sealing Temple, right? And it just adds more magnitude to that moment, especially when you see the Master Sword and Navi's like, it's that legendary blade. And I'm like, it's been sitting there for years, like since I just put it there when I finished Skyward Sword. It's been just sitting there for years until Link got it just now. Like, and it just, for me, like Ocarina of Time was a game I played as a kid, like to death, hundreds of hours.
Yep.
And then suddenly it was like I was seeing this game in a new light, you know, and it really enhanced it. It's like
everything became more personal. The legend became more real.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's like Rogue One is to A New Hope now. It's the same thing. Like I watched Rogue One and then I watched A New Hope.
Now you know the names of the
like,
people. Yeah.
Dude, Darth Vader's so angry because he just went on a slaughter fest looking for this.
Something about what you just said.
Yanking up the Master Sword. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry, Jesse, but yanking up the Master Sword feels so much more important than it did in other games. In other games, it's you're getting a new piece of sword, but now it's like you're reuniting with a friend, and that's just so beautiful without even knowing it.
I think oh, can I add something really quick? I just got chills. Ooh. Wouldn't it be cool though if you had a game where Link pulls, like, maybe not one as soon as he pulls the Master Sword, but like he has this moment where, like, maybe this is like the very end of the timeline or something, where like this is like Fi, you know, like knows this is it or whatever, but like something happens, he's holding the sword and he has a flashback of like every single Link that like ever happened. Like she's able to feed all this like data information. You think of like Avatar Last Airbender, where you're able to gain memories of like previous avatars and stuff like that. Like how cool would that be? And like they would show maybe like cutscene renditions of, you know, like these 2D sprite games, you know, we've seen for the longest time, and then you see actions that refer to those games, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, like I was there, like I've seen all this happen, and you feel like Fi, you like want to tell, like when the Wind Waker Link pulls out, you know, the sword, you know, and he looks just like a really this like determined kid. You're like, kid, if I could tell you the stories that this sword has been through, what would I tell you? You know, I just like to have that moment. I think that'd be like so cool. Very far-fetched, but to have like that Avatar moment. Oh.
And you know, with when you mentioned the Wind Waker, when I saw I like after playing Skyward Sword, I went like a little Zelda nuts, especially with the timeline. And so like I was like the one of those crazy timeline theorists. I had like a wall of sticky notes.
Not crazy at all.
No, it's like that. There's that meme where it's like me trying to explain the Zelda timeline, and it's the guy from Parks and Recs guy, and he's so that was me. That was totally me.
That's Kingdom Hearts, guys, in a nutshell.
Yeah, but this was before Hyrule Historia was actually released, right? So that was all I had to go on.
Still that way now.
I was really close, but I just didn't anticipate the third split, but I had sort of the split idea in mind. But when I went play, and I played through like all the Zelda games that I had ownership of at that time, including I went out deliberately bought a new copy of Wind Waker because at that time my old copy I had lent to a girlfriend that I was dating, and then we broke up, and then she kept it, and I was like, not worth it to go get it back.
I would have thrown over there and been like, give me my child.
I just went and bought it again. So. But yeah, exactly. But that moment, like in Wind Waker, when you pull out the Master Sword, it's sort of its weakened state, and the handle's like inwards, the crossguard, and the gem has no color to it. And then when you're building the Master Sword in or forging it in Skyward Sword, it takes on a similar shape before it's fully powered up, right? Yeah. So it's like it's connecting these ideas, and so when you go back to play Wind Waker, you're like, oh, it's not complete, you know, you gotta power it up. So I'm way off topic though, but I'm just geeking out.
We're all very off topic.
We're all geeking out over here.
We need to move on.
Yeah. But, before what were you gonna say?
I was like, I guess I should say my answer to the question at some point.
Oh yeah.
Well, between which games?
Before you get to that, I was going to say, when you were talking about, and Miss Click mentioned it as well, you see the Loftwing on the Hylian shield before you ever knew it was a Loftwing, because in Ocarina of Time, you see the bird with the Triforce and everything. But if you remember, the original shield for Ocarina of Time, we had the video with Hardcore Games a while back, where people can go and watch, and it has a lot of images of the shield at different stages. And there are versions of the Hylian shield before the official Hylian shield that we know now. There wasn't the bird. It was just the Triforce taking up the entire shield. So who knows if they thought about birds being in Zelda game, or the Loftwings being in Zelda games before they put it on the shield. So it's like, if the shield design would have remained the way it originally was, could we have potentially never even gotten Loftwings? Like, could they have been, after Twilight Princess, going to make Skyward Sword? And they're like, oh, why don't we, since this is an origin, why don't we explain the origin of the shield, the origin of the sword? And then they looked at the shield.
I don't think they had that in mind. I think they were just like, hey, let's just make this gameplay element. Because I think Eiji Aonuma has said before that gameplay comes first. Story comes later. I think that it didn't really matter to them whether or not the Loftwing image was in Ocarina of Time. It was just hey, let's make a new mount that isn't Epona, because we're in the sky, and Epona isn't a unicorn and can't fly, as much as I wish she was. But
well, I mean, the entirety of pretty much going back is, I mean, it's kind of like Star Wars too. I mean, there wasn't too much leading up, you know, the original trilogy that necessarily told you the events that happened of, you know, the prequels and stuff like that. So it's pretty much just like, hey, we want to give this, you know, an origin story. Let's tie it into key elements that might not seem like a big deal and make them a big deal.
Well,
I don't think it was designed with that in mind originally.
No,
just
like,
something they tagged on later, and
No, I know,
I wasn't saying that they designed the shield in Ocarina of Time to eventually make a game where there were birds. Like, I wasn't saying that. I was saying, like, if they wouldn't have put the Loftwing or that symbol on the Hylian shield, whenever they were making Skyward Sword,
how different would it have been?
Yeah, like, would they have had the Loftwing in mind to be like, hey,
would they even have been in the sky, though?
Yeah, like,
well, actually, apparently the sort of the inspiration for Skyward Sword, part of it was they had like done Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and then Spirit Tracks, and apparently one of the developers' kids had made a comment like, okay, now he's had a horse and a boat and a train. What's next? Is he gonna fly? And then they're like, maybe we can make him fly, and so they made it where he rides a bird. So. Like something that was like an offhanded comment by one of the developers' kids ended up becoming like a huge part of what made kind of the game its identity.
That doesn't explain Nintendo. I don't know what does.
That's Nintendo in a nutshell.
The heart of a child. The heart of a child.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's like Wind Waker Link's design was based off one of the developers' kids' drawings, apparently. So there you go. There's your factoids of the day.
Let's move on.
Yeah, Miss Click. If you're looking at the thing, take us into our next question. I think it's from Zelda Blazer.
Zelda Blazer?
Yeah.
So Zelda Blazer asked, do you think Nintendo will come out with a Zelda game quickly like they did with Majora's Mask? Do you think time travel will be implemented into another game? And what game did Nintendo do the best? Okay, so this is like 3 questions in one.
I didn't even realize.
All right. Question number 1. Will Nintendo come with a Zelda game quickly?
Yeah, Ashley?
Ashley,
Since
go.
I'm the Majora's Mask nut, I think I should be the one to take this. About the Zelda game coming out quickly, Majora's Mask was an incredibly special case. I know the story like the back of my hand, where the Nintendo 64 disc drive, they wanted DLC to Ocarina of Time. They wanted new dungeons and everything, but Shigeru Miyamoto said, to hell with that, I don't want to do that. I want to make a new game. And the higher-ups at Nintendo said, yeah, go on, but you only have 1 year to complete a game, which is why a lot of the assets are recycled from Ocarina of Time. I don't think that they'll ever do that again. That was an incredibly in-the-moment case where you get your wish, but they have to do it in an incredibly short amount of time. And when there was promotion going on for Majora's Mask 3D, Eiji Aonuma said that he has nightmares about that year of him working on Majora's Mask, and I don't think that he and his team will ever go through that again. I don't think they'll ever do that again. And about the time travel question, Skyward Sword is the most recent Zelda game to implement time travel, and yes, it is almost a series novelty, but I don't think that they'll actually do time travel much anymore, because Ocarina of Time did it, Majora's Mask did it, and then for a while, I don't think that... Well, Phantom Hourglass involved stopping time, but that was only for, like, one game, and it's only doing one part of time. But I think that maybe they're going to start laying off of the time travel and the Marty McFly stuff. But yeah, I think that... I don't think time travel will be as big of a thing as it was in earlier games. And about in what game did Nintendo do the best job on time travel? And for me, Majora's Mask. But I wanted you guys to hear what Nintendo game do you think Nintendo did the best at handling time travel? This is going out to all of you guys.
Are we answering the other two
We're
questions?
all supposed to answer the questions anyway.
Yeah, let's.
All right, then go on ahead.
Yeah, like with it being developed quickly, like as Ashley said, Majora's Mask was a special case. But then if you look at Wind Waker, that game was only in development for like 2 years. But then
that was pretty quick too.
From like 2000 to 2002.
It was like 01 to 03 or something like that.
Yeah, and then Twilight Princess was when it really started taking a really long time. It took like 5 or 6 years to cover. Yeah, about 5 years.
Because it launched 2006, 2007, but then it got delayed.
Yeah, and then Skyward Sword took like 5 years to come out, and then Breath of the Wild took 6. So if the pattern
took
continues...
20 years for Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
It felt like 20 years for Breath of the Wild.
If the pattern continues, it would take 7 years for the next Zelda game, but I think if like they reuse the same engine like a lot of people think they are, which I think Nintendo's going to do because I think they're tired of spending...
I think they've hinted at it, yeah,
so long working...
Yeah.
Like there's
that was the part that took them the longest to develop in Breath of the Wild as well, was making that engine.
The physics engine. So like the engine's already perfected, so like they could make some more minor tweaks to it. The only thing that we know about the next big Zelda game is that Nintendo, or Aonuma, said that he wanted to take like the engine from Breath of the Wild and combine it with what he's learned from like the multiplayer of Triforce Heroes. So we don't really know what that means. It could be multiplayer towards like very, very simple multiplayer, or it could be full-on multiplayer like Triforce Heroes or Hyrule Warriors. We don't really know, but I think you can expect the next big Zelda game in like 2 years from now. Like I don't think it'll come out in a year like Majora's Mask did with Ocarina of Time, but they built the entire game of Wind Waker in like 2 years. So I think they could easily, especially if they're reusing the engine from Breath of the Wild, I don't think it would take that long. Especially because like they already showed off a bunch of stuff during one of the game developers conferences where they had the Minish, they had the alien space attack. If you guys seen the trailers or whatever, where they showed off a lot of stuff that they didn't even end up using in Breath of the Wild. So I think there's just like so much stuff that they made for Breath of the Wild that they could easily bring over to the next game, especially since they didn't use traditional dungeons.
Right. Well, I mean, you even think of like the physics of Breath of the Wild with more traditional aspects that a lot of people say they're wanting to revisit. Like, how cool would that be? You know, like you have so many other things. Like, I mean, imagine like a temple where you could actually use a climbing mechanic. You know, how awesome. Like, and I think that that's something that is so revolutionary in a open world game. Like, I played Horizon Zero Dawn after I played Breath of the Wild, and it was very frustrating to play a new open world game but not be able to climb surfaces. And like you had to like find specific ledges and stuff, and I'm like, well, if Link was here, he could climb it. I just would need to build up my stamina, you know? But I think like they have such a good thing going for them in the fact that they developed such, I want to say, a strong and robust engine. And that's very Zelda-like, that I feel like they could do so many different things with the games, different settings, different, you know, times and different, you know, like I would love to see the runes again, but I feel like that's such a specific, you know, like item of like every game has its own item. And I feel like maybe we probably won't see those again unless it did end up coming after Breath of the Wild somehow, you know, in a sequel. But like their engine is like probably like one of my favorites. And it's super accurate too. Like the amount of detail they put into that, I applaud. I applaud.
Yeah, it's really cool. What about you, Daniel? What?
Okay, well, let's start from the top here. I don't think Nintendo will come up with a Zelda game super quickly, just because you know, they're gonna, if they do announce one for like next year or whatever, they're gonna delay it. It's just how they do.
They never churn out yearly titles anyway. That's just how they are.
Yeah.
Or if they do, it's gonna they're gonna pad it out with some remakes or maybe a 3DS Zelda game.
Skyward HD. Skyward HD.
2021, I'm telling you. I keep telling you, 2021 Skyward Sword HD. But there are rumors that we talked about last week.
Switch.
But
that would end up being on like whatever the next Nintendo console would be.
No, it needs to be on the Switch.
Like if it came out in 2021, the Joy-Cons work. I don't think it would even be.
Skyward, yeah.
Yeah.
It would work.
But anyways, yeah. So I don't think they'll turn it out real fast either. Like Ashley said, it's kind of Majora's Mask was a special case that they may not revisit. That idea. Time travel. I love time travel mechanics in games. I'm all about that. I used to play the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. That game has a really good use of time travel. That was not Nintendo, that was Ubisoft, but I had it on my Gamecube, so back in the day. As far as Zelda games, I think really Zelda games handle time travel the best in general, as far as Nintendo games go. And I gotta agree, I think like Majora's Mask had probably the best use of it, just because it had the 3-day cycle, and then you had the most control over it. But something I really liked in Ocarina of Time's time travel was that your sort of actions in the past had like direct effect on the future. Whereas with Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, the time travel was really just like you just stepped into the past in this one dungeon.
Well,
or this one segment.
Waker, there was like the small segments of time travel. Like when you was it the Temple of Time when like you had to go back in time? The temple was all black and white, or like
that's
time
Twilight Princess, not Wind Waker.
No, it was frozen in time.
There was like that.
Oh no, yeah,
well.
No, that was frozen in time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like time. Like you weren't going. I never assumed that it was going back in time. I always just thought that it was just sort of this area that was sort of frozen in its bubble.
Frozen in time. It wasn't like back into the past.
But like Skyward Sword's time travel was like kind of weird. I liked the idea of it, that like the climax was in the past, and then like Zelda was really there at the temple the whole time. I thought that was like that was really neat writing, especially with Impa sort of showing
spoilers.
up. Yeah, and spoilers for this game that came out 7 years ago. So 7 years ago, guys. But Ocarina of Time, I really like that Ocarina of Time. Like you go back in time, this child Link plant a beanstalk, and then you go into the future 7 years, and it's sprouted, right? And just like little things like that, I thought that was really neat. You're going back in time, you get the silver gauntlets, and then you can wear them as adult Link, and then complete the Spirit Temple. Like the Spirit Temple especially is one of my favorite Zelda dungeons because you have to do part of it in the past and the second half of it as an adult. I really love that. But I was gonna say Majora's Mask, but Ashley took that answer. So
someone
Someone
in the chat mentioned that you forgot the time shift stones, but
I was gonna say time shift stones.
Actually the time shift stones were really cool.
Yeah.
I really liked that because that was sort of another cool time travel mechanic but it was like very isolated with just this bubble that you have essentially. Like that was like one of the coolest mechanics of that game. You know, like if they had built a whole game around just that, I totally it would probably be an indie game that would do something like that, because you don't see a lot of huge AAA games that just have like one thing.
I'd like to see more from that.
But yeah, that was real cool. And especially when they sort of like hint at the material that time shift stones are made of, like Oh, this maybe the Ocarina of Time is made out of the same material.
And it could be the Sheikah Slate. I go see my theory. Shameless plug.
I personally always thought that like the time shift technology and all the ancient technology in Skyward Sword was the same technology as like the Tower of Gods and the Sheikah in Breath of the Wild. I always thought it was kind of they were linked in unintended in some way, but yeah, that's is there another part of this question? It's a long one. And what? Yeah. No, I covered it. I covered my grounds.
Yeah, I think we can move on to the next one.
Yes,
let's move on.
Ashley, if you want to take this next question to
read.
Lead away.
I don't know how to say that name, so
Tyrell Ocful, maybe? I don't know.
It's just an Ocful name to pronounce.
All right. That name said, who do you think is the weirdest Legend of Zelda character? Tingle?
It's Tingle. Or the clowns in Twilight Princess.
They freak me out.
The Kuko clowns guys
scare me.
I say Rupel from Skyward Sword.
Okay, clown from Skyward Sword. Yeah, basically any character in Zelda that's a clown is just freaky and weird.
Do you guys know who Rupel? I think his name's Rupel in Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Is he the demon?
No,
that's Batrio.
The demon was pretty weird. Like, where's
Batrio?
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
He's a French demon.
No, his name was Rupin from Skyward Sword.
Rupin.
Is that the one that had like the little wheel?
Salesman.
The shopkeeper?
Yeah, he's the shopkeeper that like. He's kind of.
It's like the rosy little cheeks.
Yeah.
He's got the rosy cheeks until you don't want to buy something. He's like.
Also, kind of on the weird spectrum, Majora and Zant.
Oh yeah, Zant.
Some of the weirdest villains in all of Zelda. Majora freaks me out.
I want to say in general, like the weirdest, and I love him so much for it, is Girahim.
Oh yeah,
Girahim is not weird. He is fabulous.
Well, I mean, it's a stigma to fabulous then, but no, just like genuinely, you're just like, is he getting turned on by torturing me? Like, I'm confused.
Oh, he is.
Like, it's like, so I don't know. He's very, very, very what's the word? Not charismatic. Yeah, but it was just very much like, I can't wait to just shut you up and kill you. Because I love him as a character, but he's very much like probably one of my favorite side villains, which you think he's really like, you're just so focused on him almost being like the main villain for the longest time, and then for him to go out the way he goes
isn't there
out,
the
you're
one
like,
scene where he like licks your face?
Yeah,
he's like right next to you.
The first time you meet him. Yeah, no, he's
and you're
like,
so what?
And you can clearly see that Link's freaked out.
Yeah.
But he talks about like he can't wait to hear the shrill of your screams and stuff like that.
Link's just like, if you're gonna kill me, please go ahead.
Do it now.
Yeah, just don't
quickly.
hurt Zelda. Like leave Zelda. Like he'll do.
Yeah, but I just Majora to me is kind of like the scary weird. Like you never know. He's like one minute he's screaming like a girl, and then the second
mask or Skull Kid.
The actual mask.
So, like when he in the final boss, it mutates into the Majora's Wrath.
Oh yeah, that
just
freaks me out. He's the scary weird, while Girahim is the fun weird.
I think with Majora's Wrath, especially, like it's sort of this unhinged craziness that's like that's sort of like why the Joker is scary in Batman, because it's like he's not just like dangerous, but he's unpredictable and wild, and he's just unhinged, you know. Whereas other villains are a little more calculated.
So something I never I'll say this really quick and then we'll move on to the next question. But something I never really understood about Skyward Sword with Girahim and Fi was that Girahim was the spirit of the Sword of Demise, and Fi's the spirit of the Sword of Link. But you know, Fi comes out, she helps you and stuff. She shows you, points you in the direction, and like helps you out in some ways. But if you look at Girahim as the spirit of whatever Sword Demise has, he isn't just like helping Demise. Like he's going all out, like actually kidnapping Zelda or trying to, releasing all of this stuff. Like he's the
more aggressive version of Fi.
Yeah, like he's actually doing stuff. To whereas
I always saw them as the sort of antithesis of each other, though.
They're the yin and yang.
Yeah.
Where Fi is much more passive, and Girahim is more aggressive.
Yeah. The way I always looked at it is Fi definitely was obeying the commands of Hylia, but she was very orderly. Like you would consider her like a robot or programmed, and that she knew order. And her like she's always, you know, like my duty is fulfilled. She was very much like this is the only logical way to go. Yeah. My analysis, you know, like there's a 98% chance the batteries in your Wii remote are low, you know, stuff like that. Whereas Girahim, you know, he was like everything but the opposite. He was on a whim. He was disorganized. He had a plan.
Very chaotic.
Yeah. So, but it almost makes me think like, where was that sword? Where did that sword come from exactly? Like, could we know the origin of those swords? And then you later know like, oh my gosh, this sword is about to cause so much trouble in the future, you know, like seeing it forged, you know, kind of like with the Shadow of Mordor and stuff like that. You see the rings being forged and stuff.
Yeah. And then like, even though Girahim was the spirit inside the sword, he made his own sword. So it's like, why didn't Fi ever make her own sword?
Because Hylia never told her to.
Yeah.
All right. So our next question comes from. I was going to go to you for the next question, Daniel, but this next one comes from, I believe, one of Miss Click's followers. So Miss Click from Kevin.
Kevin Dong, do you think that there should have been a Korok champion? This is actually a really cool idea because you never really think of Koroks outside of, I mean, maybe Makar, you know, kind of, but like you never think of them, but like kind of scared, timid, you know, a little, you found me. You know?
Wow, that was an eerily good impression.
That was a very good impression.
That was well done. That was perfect.
Stream a lot.
Teach me your ways about impressions.
It was like 100% accuracy.
But yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a super cool, like to kind of, you think of like more of a quiet character, or maybe he's just like the most bold and brash of the Korok, you know, type. Is he tiny and scrawny a little bit, or does he like have a little bit more distinctive differences? You know,
is he like Groot?
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh,
yeah, like say his name over and over and over again, like Pikachu or something. But like, that would be, I think. I don't think there should have been. I think it'd be really cool to have another distinct Korok character. Again, because Wind Waker was really cute with that, you know?
Well, we have Hestu and...
Oh my gosh, Daniel, I'm so sorry for interrupting.
It's okay, we do this. I do this with every guest.
I just wanted to point out that the Koroks make weapons. Like, I've been using they make weapons for Link. Like, that's a plot point in the forest where they say, oh, I made this for you, where they do make weapons, and it's just a matter of will they use them, because it seems like all they're concerned about is just giving their weapons to Link rather than using them themselves.
Yeah, but they are Link-sized weapons.
They're businessmen.
Those guys are too small to hold the forest dwellers' weapons. But this is a good time to bring up, I think we mentioned it in an older video, there was concept art. Before they had settled on the Rito being in the game, there's that book. There was a Kokiri champion originally, and there's concept art of that. So Kokiri, they are the same race technically.
And
technically.
We have seen fan art of Saria as a champion in Breath of the Wild.
Well, the champions and the sages, their roles are a little different. But I mean, it's neat to think that there was like a Kokiri champion in the works, even though like the Kokiri are children, but so is Link, I guess. So in some games, but yeah, like it would have been cool to see, but I just don't see a little Kokiri kid fitting in with the group of champions we have, especially because Daruk is like this mammoth. He is as big as Death Mountain, and you know, like really. In the group of champions, Link is the little one, which I think is kind of funny. Because
even compared to Mipha, who is very old.
And
so it's age-wise, but like because Zora, they age much slower than Hylians apparently. So, but it's I like the idea, but I don't think it would have played out as well as what they settled on. Like it's neat to see what the ideas they had running with, but then we have to remember, like, well, they cut this out for a reason, so it probably didn't work. They tried it, but they weren't.
Maybe they didn't want the parallels. Maybe people would have thought like, oh, this is too much like Ocarina of Time and the Sages.
Well,
who knows?
That's true. Yeah.
The game or GDC Game Developers Conference, when Nintendo had their thing where they were talking about designing Breath of the Wild, they said that before they had 100 Koroks that you would go around and find, that there would be they took an idea from A Link to the Past. When you're in the Lost Woods, there's a lot of fake pedestals for the Master Sword. And they said that they took that same approach with Breath of the Wild. So before there were 900 Koroks everywhere, there was hundreds of those fake Master Sword pedestals. And then they ended up replacing those pedestals with Koroks. So they could have thought, these pedestals everywhere don't make sense. In A Link to the Past, they were just in the Lost Woods. But if they're in Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, why are they everywhere? It doesn't make real sense for the story. So then they could have thought, well, what would make sense? And then they thought the Koroks. And then it's like, well, if we have the Koroks, we can't really have the Kakiri both there because they're the same race. So then
even though they had the Rito and Sora.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thought process that I imagined that they had, to where it's like, well, we can't have these fake pedestals, let's replace them with Koroks. And they're like, well, we can't have Koroks if there's Kakiri. And they're like, well, let's just replace the Kakiri altogether, which I would have loved seeing the Kakiri instead of the Koroks.
Yeah.
Because
that would have been really cool.
They retconned the Forest Boy in A Link to the Past. If you play any of the newer versions of A Link to the Past, like I think the Game Boy Advanced version, they replaced it to where it now, like, canonically the forest person playing the flute is a Kakiri. And Wind Waker, I think, is the only other appearance of a Kakiri. The sage in Wind Waker playing the violin.
Right. His name is Fado, I think.
Yeah. So
Fado, yeah. Or Fado, who knows?
Yeah. So it would have been really cool if that was on there. Yes. Someone says Jesse Waldeck is online. He is from Nintendo Dad's podcast, or Nintendo Dad's podcast. So go check it out, guys, if you want to. But yeah, our next question. Daniel, take us to our next question.
Okay, guys, let's read the next question. It's from Discord. And my good friend Hyrule Gamer. Fact.
Benson.
Yes, Benson, whose accent I love. Has there ever been a time in your life that you have felt out with the Zelda franchise and stopped playing Zelda games for a period of time? Or have you never fell away from the franchise? So, kind of. Like, I don't think there was, like, one... There was a point where, probably when I was, like, 16 or 17, where I wasn't playing very many video games. I pretty much just played... There was, like, a solid year where, like, all I played was Tetris. And I got super good at Tetris. I don't know why like that. I don't... Like, Tetris is one of those games where it's, like, it just, it really, like, challenges you because there's no real, like, end to the game. It just goes until... And it keeps going faster until you, lose, basically. So there's no real end to the game. And so I got super good at Tetris. And what ended up, I stopped playing Tetris because after like a year of like playing only Tetris, because what happened, I was playing it. I'd started a game of Tetris, I was still in high school at this point, but I started the game of Tetris at like 8 or 9 p.m. one night. And I was still playing it at school the next day. That same game of Tetris, I had just somehow kept it going for like hours. And my friend, I like played it all throughout the first class. I just paid no attention in class. And then my friend got so annoyed, he slapped my DS out of my hand and broke my copy of Tetris. And I was like, that's really upsetting. And the hinge on my DS also broke. So
were things flying? Like, was there a huge fight and like things thrown around? Because that's how I would react.
Didn't talk to him for like a day. But
my God.
You know, I'm a pretty forgiving person overall. But
not me.
So that was just plain old upsetting.
If that happened to me, if like someone broke my 3DS right in front of my face, I'd just be like, no, and just throwing things. But
I just want a man pay for a new one.
Mm-hmm. But pretty much other than that, like, year, I pretty much always played Zelda. Like, the first game I ever played was A Link to the Past. And I never, well, when I first started playing, I was just a wee little one, but I never got very far. But like I pretty much like never stopped. I played A Link to the Past and then Ocarina of Time as a kid, and just played these games to death. Like I know them like the back of my hand. So, and now Breath of the Wild, right? So I will stop playing Zelda games when they stop making them. Actually, no, I won't. I'll probably just keep playing the old ones. So.
All right.
Who's next?
Yeah, you go next, Ashley. Let's because there are quite a few questions. We've been taking a while.
Need to go soon.
Yeah, we've been taking a while on the past questions, so let's try to get through the rest of these kind of quickly.
All right. So, I've never actually fallen out of the Zelda franchise. I've never just been fully introduced into it because my grandma, she actually had Game Boys. She used to play Nintendo a lot when she was a kid, and she gave me and my sister Game Boys when we were little, and one of the cartridges that she gave us was Link's Awakening. Mm-hmm. And I played only a little bit of that, and I never actually actually gotten far into it, and I just sort of forgot about Zelda. And actually the really big game that brought me back was Majora's Mask, because it just when I first saw it, it just freaked me out, that game, and yet I still was like, I want to know more, but I also don't at the same time. Ben drowned, seriously. Anyways, I've never actually fallen out of the Zelda franchise. It's just that I was never really got super hooked into it where I fell out of it. So I never did, to be honest.
All right. And what about you, Miss Click?
No, I've never, ever, never will have a falling out with Zelda, to be honest. Zelda, I think, has gotten me, probably besides my own faith, has gotten me through hell and back. And Zelda has literally been adapted to my life in so many different scenarios of not just how to be, as a person, and to be courageous and to be wise and to seek power in a balanced way and a respectful way. Otherwise, you end up destroying yourself and those you love. It's also been, you'll do anything for those that you love. You'll do anything to save or to rescue or to defend someone. And I think because of that struck with me so much as a kid growing up. That has, whether or not I realized it intentionally, it just became part of kind of like my code. And so Zelda to me will always be very special. So I hate it when people, say this game was trash or this game was bad. It's just they're all different because they're each known for a unique way. It's kind of like saying, which child of yours is your favorite? If you had to pick, my mom had to pick out of the three of us, which one would live? Do you just see how ridiculous that sounds? Every one of them is special for a different reason. And so Zelda, I literally played those games into the ground every time. And every time a new game comes out, a new trailer, you think of back where you were the last game and the game before that and the game before that, when you first got your hands on it or when you were first waiting in line to get it. And I just think that Zelda has something very special that a lot of series don't. And so for me, it's just, I've always been known as, you hear The Legend of Zelda and I'm getting tagged in, memes and stuff. And actually one year for Christmas, on my bookshelf back here, I don't know if you can see it. It's up one, but I literally the same Christmas got 3 copies of Hyrule Historia from 3 different people because they saw it, they saw the Triforce, and they're like, all right, I'm gonna get this for her. And I still need to do a giveaway of these, but it was just Zelda has literally changed my life so much. So long story long, no.
To try to make mine as short as I can, the only time that I could think of after actively being a Zelda fan, because A Link to the Past was my first Zelda game, and then I think I played
We're
the first
twins.
Yeah. I think I played the first 2 Zelda games on the NES, but I just looked at them and was like, oh, these games look like crap compared to the Super Nintendo. I guess I was one of those kids. And then it was like really difficult because it wasn't even the first Zelda game. It was Zelda 2 where it was all level based and RPG. So I wasn't really able to play it past like the first dungeon, if I even made it past that. So the Zelda series wasn't really the Zelda series to me at that point. It was just I like A Link to the Past. But then after Ocarina of Time, it was my first Nintendo 64 game. It was amazing. And then Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and all of this. And then the handheld games. But the only time that I really, after becoming an active Zelda fan, to where it consumed my life, the only time where I wasn't playing a Zelda game for that long was there was a brief moment between like the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, but even then, even though I wasn't really playing Zelda, I was taking a class in school where I was the teacher's assistant. I didn't have to do any homework or anything during the class or study, so I spent the entire time.
Life.
It was great. It was a computer keyboarding class. I already knew how to type, so I didn't have to do anything. And teacher made me her assistant, so I spent most of the time on the computer looking up. It was at the time all of the websites was calling it The Legend of Zelda tentative title because they just knew it as The Legend of Zelda. It would have went on to become Twilight Princess. But that was like a short gap where I wasn't playing any Zelda games, but I was still actively looking up whatever the next Zelda game was going to be. And then there was the time between Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword as well. I really got into games like Call of Duty and just PlayStation games at that point. I had a PlayStation 3. I was addicted to the game Skate for a while. Call of Duty, other PlayStation games, Need for Speed. And then whenever Skyward Sword was getting ready to come out, that's when I got really invested into not just the Zelda franchise, but the Zelda community as a whole. I started writing for Zelda Dungeon, other websites, and that's when I kind of went on to start my own YouTube channel and everything after writing for Zelda Dungeon. So, yeah, I guess we all had sort of long stories on this, but again, we'll try to make the next story.
The next one's pretty short.
Next one.
Yeah.
All right.
Short but fun.
Yeah, do you want to take this one, Ashley?
Okay. From Ilya Rose, Game Over Jesse and King.
Oh, she's doing voiceover for one of the videos.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
All right. Eiji Aonuma, Koji Kondo, Shigeru Miyamoto. Choose one and why.
It's tough.
I'm gonna let you guys take this one first because I still need to think.
Koji Kondo.
Miyamoto
and Aonuma are geniuses in their own right. They're all brilliant. But Koji Kondo, he wrote the Zelda theme in like an hour or something like that, like super short. He was like gonna use a different song and he wrote that just like in a minute as a placeholder, and it's like one of the most iconic songs in existence, especially in gaming. The guy, his method is brilliant. He will just apparently his music writing method is he will sit and listen to it for an hour, and if he doesn't get tired of it after that long, then he's like, okay, it's good because I don't get sick of it after listening to it for like hours and hours. Right. He has to. I don't know. I think his music is brilliant. His dude writes gold.
His music is great, but I will say games like Final Fantasy always have amazing music as well. So even if Koji Kondo didn't do the Zelda music, I have faith that Nintendo would have chosen someone who would have done just as great of a job. So, yeah,
he wrote the Mario Bros theme, man.
Yeah,
and the Zelda theme. Like that's iconic.
Yeah,
I think I've finally made my pick. Koji Kondo. He did the entire Majora's Mask soundtrack. Like, that's reason enough for me. And he made my favorite Zelda song of them all. And that's Oath to Order. I love Oath to Order. It is so beautiful and so emotional. Like, that's recognition enough for me. Yes, Shigeru Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma, they're fantastic. I don't think the Zelda universe would be anything without them, but I don't think the Zelda universe would be anything without Koji Kondo either. And I don't think I'd be anything without my Oath to Order.
And that's the thing is Zelda is like really well known for its music too. Like people, what's like things they love about Zelda, like, oh, I love the gameplay, I love the exploration, I love the music. People always say that they love the music. They have a whole symphony of just Zelda music because it's so
one of the biggest
iconic.
video game tours too.
Yeah, it's because it's so iconic and like you said, Ashley, like the Onuma and Miyamoto, they're brilliant in their own rights. They're geniuses and icons in the industry. But Koji Kondo's work is like that's immortal stuff. Like that's that's good.
You can make music for the gods.
Other composers are good in their own right too. Like there's a lot of game composers who are brilliant. Like David Wise, Grant Kirkhope's a great example. But just like
Junichi Masuda for the Pokemon universe. That's
what's his name? Kenji Yamato, who does Metroid's music as well. But but I don't think any of them quite hold a torch to Koji Kondo. Right. Personal opinion. Miss Click, your answer.
This is so tough because I'm a musician growing up. I am very picky about music, and Koji Kondo is he's amazing. Even when he does collabs with people. Eiji Aonuma is like, I've come to love him so much more recently since he's been, more prominent. And when him and Miyamoto and Iwata were doing things together, like it was just like so cute. But I think I really have to say Shigeru, probably just because he is the epitome of a heart of a child, and you can just tell he loves what he does, and he loves making people happy. And I think that hearing him tell the stories of how Zelda came to be because of his exploration as a child, and just really wanting to share that joy with the world and being able to help pilot that and accomplish that. I don't think that's something that I could personally ever thank him enough for, because I feel like that really resonated with me as well. So even though I love the other two dearly, and if I would save all three of them if I could, if I had to choose, but I think Miyamoto definitely.
All
right, let's move on.
Miss Click, Tic Tac Tokyo. What does he have to
Tic Tac Tokyo. Are you sad we didn't get a full game version of the 2.5 demo that they made to test Breath of the Wild?
I think we will.
I don't think it was 2.5. I think it was fully 2D.
Yeah,
but,
it was 2D. It is sad that we didn't get it, but I think that when the Virtual Console releases, or like the eShop, we've seen Nintendo put out crazy, weird little mini games. I think this would be like if they made a full Zelda game in that style and just gave it like 2 dungeons, just a quick, simple experience. I think it would be something a lot of people would pay like $10 or $20 for. That wouldn't be on the line of like a $60 full Breath of the Wild game. It wouldn't be like a $40 or a $30 A Link Between Worlds type experience. But there's a lot of people that would pay like 10 or 20 for a quick 2 or 3 dungeon experience in that style. So although I am sad we didn't get it, I think there is a chance that we will, especially with games like Project Octopath Traveler. That's like they're taking that 8-bit style and doing something completely new with it. So yeah, that I think we will eventually get something.
I have a question.
Yes.
About this demo, was that the demo that they did back in 2011 with that Twilight Princess style?
This is like a prototype of Breath of the Wild that they built. So they used Zelda 1 assets to make like a little mini test area to test things like burning trees and fire blowing in the wind and stuff.
Okay, I didn't know about that. I'm sorry.
It's really cool. This is a good time to bring up as well that even though we didn't get this officially from Nintendo, there is a fan project called Breath of the NES, and it's basically just a fan who wanted to make that happen, and so he sort of designed basically what that demo was as a playable experience, and there was a ROM of it out. You can there's videos of people that do little tests and try and play it out, and it's a little rough around the edges because it's a fan project. It doesn't quite have the Nintendo polish, but it's really cool. So look it up, I would say, because it's
I'll look that up sometime later.
Breath of the NES.
All right, so really quick, everyone, you sad about it not being able to get it? Daniel, Miss Click.
Yeah.
Sad but hopeful.
I'm either way. I think it was really cool to see, but I don't think I'd be upset if it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would either, even though I don't know what it is.
Yeah, Ashley, you mentioned that you don't have too much time left. If you have to go, you can go at any point. We can finish.
I have a little bit more
questions.
time, like maybe another 15 or so minutes, possibly. Okay. So let's just run through these very quickly. So...
Yeah.
Okay, we only have 2 more questions, so Daniel, let's just run with these as quickly as we can.
Take us to our next question, Daniel.
Tevy Bear, he or she, Tevy Bear asks, so we know that Breath of the Wild broke a lot of conventional Zelda. Are there any other video game franchises that you would like to see have their conventions broken?
Every year of a series, aka Assassin's Creed.
I mentioned this earlier. If we stick with Nintendo, I would like to see the Metroid spin on like the Destiny style gameplay.
Yeah, like what you're saying. Yeah.
Pretty much any franchise for me. Like, go ahead, Ashley. Sorry.
I started streaming again just now, though. So
yeah, I get what happens.
We're back, guys.
Okay.
Woo, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. Woo. All right.
All right. So, Ashley, what's our final question there? And then.
Wait, what about the other? Oh, wait, have we already done all of their answers?
Oh, no.
Wait, what? Did we?
I got left out.
Daniel,
sorry.
You first before we
sorry.
What conventions do I want broken? Every game. I feel it's healthy for something to not fall too heavily into a pattern. I think it's important for any franchise to evolve and to break conventions and try something new. Whenever you have a game come out and it's doing something new and people complain about it, I'm always like, no, this is good. They need to try, even if it fails, they need to at least try something new. Mm-hmm. So basically, any franchise, I'm not attached to conventions. Just give me anything.
Yeah.
Everyone as long as it's worrying about being different, but no, that's actually a good thing, being different.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I do a wise.
Yeah, wise session with Daniel. That should be your new series.
Hey, I did a life advice segment.
Yeah, life advice.
Life advice with Bergerson.
Yes.
Okay, next, is that everyone? Are we moving on?
All right. I'll do do you want me to do this one?
Yeah, you can do this one, and then everybody that is in the live chat for YouTube, we will take 2 quick questions from the live chat. So if you are in the chat right now...
All right.
Repost it if you already posted it. Repost it.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just so they're next to each other.
This question comes from Kamea. Nice name, by the way. What's your opinion on the Leviathan bones in Breath of the Wild? Is it possible Nintendo was giving us a clue on the timeline placement? Misclick.
If I'm not mistaken, was there only one set of bones?
No, there's like
there were
4.
3.
Yeah.
One in Hebro, one at Death Mountain, and one in Gerudo Desert.
Yeah, so to me it's like, do we really think those are Leviathan bones? I mean, if there's 3, could those be other dragons? I mean, to be honest, I never really thought of it necessarily as a timeline placement. I thought of like, wow, this must have been a really, really big enemy. Or I thought maybe it's just Molduga. Like,
it could be other
Moldugas. Different forms of Moldugas. I mean, was there like some in the mountain? I don't know. It's hard to explain. I never really thought much about it necessarily. I didn't think it was like the Leviathan though. If that makes sense.
So there are something that I would like to bring up is that in Ocarina of Time, the second boss that you fight in Dodongo's cavern is King Dodongo, which is a giant King Dodongo. But when you go into the cavern, there's the second cave at the end of the first room where you go into to actually get to the main boss. But the door, like the mouth that opens up, you have to bomb the eyes of a Dodongo that is so large.
A Dodongo skull.
Yeah, and it's so large that it makes the giant Dodongo that you actually fight look tiny by comparison.
Yeah.
So it's like there are these giant dragons, there are giant fish, like Jabu Jabu, and then there's like all of these different enemies and people or characters in the series. There's the giant Goron on top of Death Mountain in Ocarina of Time. So there are all of these characters, like there's Gorons, the fish, the dragons, the Dodongos that are all larger than life creatures. that it could be any one of them. Like, who's to say the giant bones didn't belong to a giant Goron, like the one who helps you make the big Goron sword? Or the one that's stuck inside...
That's if Gorons have bones, who knows, right?
Yeah. So there's like all of these different things that it could potentially be, but there is one thing in the desert. There are the Leviathan bones, or whatever you want to call them. And if you look at... there's a certain screenshot that if you look at it, it looks very similar, and I actually talk about this in one of my videos. It looks very similar to bones that's shown on the artwork for one of the CDI Zelda games. Because there are, like, you see the giant rib cage in the desert, and there's like this statue or something beside it. And then if you go to the desert in Breath of the Wild, it's like the same scene almost. It's almost, it's just as similar, the artwork, as the cut or the scene where Nintendo showed off, and it's like Link on the hill looking off at the Twin Peaks in the background. Like, as much as that looks like the original artwork from the first Zelda, this looks like a callback to artwork.
Jesse, the stream went offline. Oh wait, the stream's going through weird stuff again.
Oh, well,
oh no.
That's...
Oh, I think it's okay now, but you might want to keep a close mind on it.
Well, we're at the end of the stream.
All right, so
now anyways,
let's quickly.
Sorry, guys,
run
this is
through
weird.
all of it.
Yeah, so
oh no,
Miss Click, go through. Actually,
we're still recording those.
Everyone, yeah, we're still recording, so it, like, people will see it that want to see it. But yeah, like, what are your guys' thoughts on the Leviathan bones? Did you answer, Daniel?
No, I never took it as a timeline creature. It was a Leviathan, like it was literally just a giant thing. I think if you compare the skeletons, the skulls aren't even the same as each other's. Like, they're just all about relatively the same size. So I think they were not necessarily the same race or the same type of creature. Just some giant creatures that died. I think really they're just there to serve as atmosphere, as like something to give more depth to the areas. It would be interesting if there was a way to tie it into the timeline, but I'm not sure how, because we probably haven't seen what those creatures were in previous games, right?
It could be something else, yeah.
Yeah, so really, I mean, really the best indicator of the timeline for Breath of the Wild is just the fact that it takes place so long after any other Zelda games. And there are many other theories. I don't think this really lends to any of them. So.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So, has anyone seen any questions in the chat for the final questions?
Let me look.
Open it back up, because I did close it.
All right, let me see. Jason LJ says, what is your favorite dungeon of the Zelda series? Have you already answered this question before?
We have, but we can go ahead and answer this.
Oh, we can answer it for Miss Click and I.
True.
However, I am curious, what were your answers before, Daniel and Jesse?
I can't remember if we answer this. There's a number of dungeons I really like. I really enjoy.
I would say
Forest Temple and Ocarina of Time's really good.
Stone Tower Temple for me.
Stone Tower's really good as well.
Stone Tower Temple's mine.
Flipping it. I really like water temples in Zelda. People hate them, but I find them very fun, because water temples, usually instead of like a bunch of small puzzles and rooms, it's like the whole dungeon is kind of one puzzle, which is something I kind of like. It's really hard for me to pick one dungeon. This is just not fair. Are you sure we answered this before? I don't think we did. I don't know.
I feel like it's one of the most standard Zelda questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stone Tower Temple for me, with I think maybe Hyrule Castle and Breath of the Wild being a second.
Yeah, Hyrule Castle.
If we can count it as a dungeon. It's more like an open world dungeon, because you can enter it whenever you want.
The game treats it as a dungeon, though, because only in the Divine Beast and Hyrule Castle do you get sort of the dungeon map.
Yeah, I'd just pick if you had to, though, just for time's sake.
Yeah.
I cannot choose. I pass. I cannot choose my children.
I really like the setting of obviously like the atmosphere of Hyrule Castle from Breath of the Wild. Like, it's just so like you you get to scale the magnificent setting of Hyrule Castle. But I think I don't think it's called the Temple of Time, but what the temple with the time shift stones that you need to use before you get to the cutscene with Zelda and the final Gate of Time. That whole dungeon
the Lanero mining facility.
Yeah, you have the mining facility too, because then you also have gust bellows and stuff like that. But the time shift stones, just such a cool, like, you running around being like, okay, what can I use this with? You know, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Jesse, what about you?
Yeah, Stone Tower Temple for me.
Okay.
Okay. All
right.
Do you want me to pull in one more?
Me too. I actually really like Sweden the Hedgehogs. He says, what setting modern Hyrule, Sky, Sea, Ruined Hyrule, insert whatever idea, do you want the next mainline Zelda to be in? I think now that they've done a bike, to be honest, I think like more of a modern type Zelda with more technology involved, like maybe Sheikah technology or something, like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Like a rebuild.
In the Breath of the Wild, like the legend of 10,000 years ago, they talk about the Sheikah technology being advanced,
so
and Hyrule being like a technologically advanced society at that time.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah.
So yeah, that would be cool to see.
Yeah.
I see. I see a cattail.
What I think would be really cool, which in Skyward Sword, there was a lot of uses of like minecart traveling, like before you got to the Lanayru Sand Sea.
It gets all kinds of Donkey Kong Country.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah.
And then in Minish Cap, there was a dungeon where like you had to travel through the dungeon by a minecart. So in Spirit Tracks, to progress through the overworld, I guess it didn't really have an overworld that you walked around on. You had to take the train to different areas.
Tracks, yeah.
So I think it would be really cool if you had a huge 3D Zelda game like Breath of the Wild. It doesn't necessarily need to be as large, but if you had the option to ride on Epona, but you also could, just like in Breath of the Wild, you can travel via boat, you can travel with Epona, you can warp places, you can travel a lot of different ways.
It was cool because they gave the ancient armor to the horse, so it's like, even though I use the bike, I think it runs out of gas too much for me, so sometimes I'm just like, just gonna call my horse, it appears wherever. So it was cool that they brought the two together.
Yeah.
It's depending on the horse you get too. Like, I know, like for me, usually I have the amiibo, so I just get Epona. But most of or not most, but depending on the horse you get, some of them, including Epona, are actually faster than the motorcycle. And they don't run out of gas.
But
about the question, I haven't answered the question yet. I'm gonna piggyback all over on what Misclick said about a technologically advanced Hyrule. Like, what if the next Zelda game is a Breath of the Wild sequel where Hyrule has essentially been restored to glory, where all the Sheikah technology has been rediscovered and they're slowly rebuilding and getting it all back on track? Because that's what Zelda says in the secret ending, that we need to start getting Hyrule back on track.
Perhaps even beyond, she says. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I hope for. Jesse, you can answer the question, and then I want to get to one last question myself before I head out.
All right, I was going to say it'd be cool if in a 3D world there was another train track sort of thing, to where it was in a 3D Zelda game, to where you're wandering around Hyrule. There are the tracks on Hyrule Field, but then at different times you could see, like in the same way that NPCs walked around or could be at different places in Majora's Mask at different times. If it's like at 6 p.m. the train's going to be at Lake Hylia, then at 8 p.m. it goes around to Kakariko Village, and it was a way for the world to feel more alive, to where it's not just like in Breath of the Wild, you sometimes see people walking different areas. Yeah. But if you've seen someone, it's like, oh, this person at nighttime, he's on the train to get to this place, and then maybe on this day, he's at this location instead. So I think it would be really interesting. And then if they had something to where, like they could have a boss or something to where it's like, oh, we can't get to this location with the train because of this person. So that's I think that would be really cool to see a train in a 3D Zelda game. So yeah, what's the final question?
Final question from Knock Fox. He says, what is your favorite version of the champion/hero's tunic in the Zelda series? So it's kind of on par with like who's your favorite Link, but rather what's your favorite looking Link. And my question is automatically Fierce Deity armor. Duh, I love Fierce Deity armor. And
I'm not surprised.
But yeah, but my favorite regular looking Link, Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess looks very good as
she got a crush on him.
No.
Why not? I do.
Yeah, I would have to go with Twilight
I ain't
Princess.
ashamed.
I remember whenever they first showed off artwork or a screenshot of Twilight Princess Link, it was like a zoom in of him like doing the weird spin thing with the sword and putting it in its sheath behind him.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you can see all of like this was on the GameCube, and you could see all of the stitches on his
and the
tunic.
chainmail that he wears.
Yeah. So it's like if they did an updated version of that, which they kind of did with the Zelda Wii U tech demo. So it's like the way that it looks more detailed, more realistic. I like that tunic more, but I also like how Skyward Sword sort of had its own unique take on it. Like you had the baggy pants instead of the tights and everything.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't like the baggy pants, man.
What?
You can
baggy pants are the best.
You can.
I wasn't into it.
But I think I was gonna say Skyward Sword's really cool too because you think that this is gonna be like so iconic, like he gets this suit made for him. It's made, to be comfortable and protect him, and it's bulletproof. And instead, it's like, nope. This year the uniform's just green. There's a girl wearing like the exact same thing as Link, but she's wearing, a different type with a different hat. Pippin's wearing yellow. Like there's a blue one out in the loft wing saving you from jumping off the thing at night. So it's just like, nope. That's just what they wore. So I thought that was
but I feel like Twilight Princess has so much more value as a tunic. Like this was a tunic that was used by the Hero of Time. I don't know when though. I don't know when young Link grew up to be wearing that.
Well, I think I think
it doesn't explicitly say Hero of Time. It just says that it was a previous hero that wore that.
Yeah.
So it could have been Skyward Sword Links for all we know, and it's just over time there's more stitching and stuff added because it's worn out and been repaired. Could be, but the pants got tighter.
Yeah, and then it's always, you can always take into account that it's like the way Gorons look in Twilight Princess also look different than the way they looked in Ocarina of Time, and it just comes down to, it may look identical in game, but with that game's art style, that's what it looks like from one art style to the other. To whereas like the in-game lore, they could see it looking almost identical, but to us, because it's the different art styles, it looks different. So there are the different things to where it's like all of the Link's tunics could potentially look the same aside from the baggy pants. It's just in the different art styles. Twilight Princess allows you to see the stitches, whereas Ocarina of Times just lets you see the colors.
Right, and
in Breath of the Wild, you can just mix and match. You can create your own hero's tunic. That's what I did.
But I mean, you could just think like after he saves Hyrule, like he's probably not wearing that tunic anymore. So I mean, if you were to really think about it, like maybe a couple weeks or a month, maybe he wears the tunic. If you were to actually like kind of time it out, if he was to realistically go on a journey, and then he never wears it again. So it's
evidently
like
because
he finishes it, he locks it up, and then he's good.
Yeah,
because the Hero Shade wears armor, and so obviously, like as the Hero of Time later, he didn't stay wearing that green tunic forever. He started wearing armor or whatever. But except
that
for
would get
Toon
very
Link,
confusing.
Hero of Winds clearly kept wearing that tunic, even though he didn't like it at first, because he continues wearing it all through Phantom Hourglass.
He goes back to it,
and then
he keeps going to his pajamas.
Yeah, he just he's like, I have this or my pajamas. That's all I own. So
that's how you play through Wind Waker the second time.
Oh,
even if I could go to an adventure with my pajamas, I'd take the armor that I know that can protect me.
My favorite part at the end of Wind Waker is like he's in the bubble and he's wearing the pajamas, but still got the bubble outline of his tunic hat.
Oh yeah,
that's so weird.
It's just funny how they never changed that.
But yeah, Twilight Princess for me as well. Just I think as well, like, is my favorite Link design. But I think
crush on him.
Yes, but like I also really like the Champion's tunic in Breath of the Wild, especially because Breath of the Wild, like, it shows more. He's got the quiver on his back, and he's just like got more like straps, and I don't know.
He's
it
more
just
battle ready.
it seems like he's more like actually carrying all the stuff that he uses, whereas in other games it's just like his bow disappears into his pouch. But then Breath of the Wild, the bow it actually goes on his back as well, and I just really like that look of Breath of the Wild Link. But other than that, Twilight Princess Link as well.
All right. Well, that brings us to
that's it.
Yeah, that brings us to the very end of the podcast. So, thank you, Daniel. Thank you,
Jesse.
Thank you, Ashley. Once again, what? All right, Daniel. For people who don't know who you are, for some reason, I don't know why they wouldn't.
You should.
Where could people find you?
Attention. You can find me right here on this very podcast. If you tune in later, again, I'll be back. You can follow me on Twitter at CaptBurgerson, and I also have a website. It's not as fancy as Miss Clicks probably because it's still. I keep saying it's still under construction, but I haven't worked on it since I last said that.
Everybody's
BurgersonMedia.com, where I do stuff. And yeah, that's.
He's also on Discord.
I'm also on Jesse's Discord, where I play with the colors of people's titles, people's roles. So
that was the biggest decision we've made this week.
That was my
just
project
changing the colors of the roles.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Alright.
Champion Ashley, where can people find you?
Alright, you all can find me on YouTube, Champion Ashley. That's all one word, please. Champion Ashley. And you can also find me on Twitter as Real Ashley Akana. I try to tweet there as much as I can, but making videos and all, I kind of can't really do that. But I'm also on Facebook as Ashley Akana, even though I really don't post there. But hey, it'll still be good to go to Facebook, even though that's for older people.
All right. And finally, Miss Click, where can people find you, and what can they expect to find when they do find you?
What to expect? I can't really answer that. Ow. Okay. All right. Chill. MissClickGaming.com is your hub for all your links. Please don't bite my ankle. Yeah, you can catch me. Everything is literally there. Like all my links. MissClickGaming.com. We will be streaming as of Monday back to the regular schedule. We will be on Twitch, so make sure you check out my Twitch link. And we'll be doing uploads to YouTube as well. And if you would like to support our future cosplay journey, consider Patreon. But that's about it for me.
All right, so everyone, Champion Ashley on YouTube, Twitter, and then Ashley Akana on
Facebook.
Yes, and then Miss Click, they can find you on Twitter.
Miss Click, yeah. Anything.
Facebook, YouTube, Discord, Patreon.
All there.
Daniel, they can find him on Vogue magazine.
Oh, bouncy.
If you really want to find me,
yes.
you can find me
Fabulous.
anywhere.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yes, and thank you, everyone, for watching. We have a lot of great videos. We're experimenting with some new staff members, I suppose. Some new writers, editors, see how that's going to be working out. So there's going to be some new-ish videos coming out, scripted videos, top 10s, theories, stuff like that. Yeah, so keep an eye out for those and subscribe to not just me, but to
subscribe to all of us,
Ashley, and
except for King because he doesn't have a channel.
Subscribe to
No,
Tacker.
he does have a channel.
I do have a channel. I didn't plug it.
Then
My
forget
YouTube channel's
about it.
NSHG Films,
Yes.
which is not consistent with any of my naming conventions,
Then
but it's because it's a
subscribe to all of
collaborative
us.
channel between me and a
Subscribe to
couple
all
people.
of us. Miss Click, Jesse, King, and me.
Yes, there will be, obviously, for the people watching this, in the edited video, not the live video, but I have the Twitter handle of all of the guests in the corner of their respective videos. So you can easily find everyone on Twitter to follow there, or you can go to the comments below, find everyone's Discord or YouTube channels. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Miss Click. And we're out.
All right, bye.